So here we are then, ready for the first race of 2016, live here on RadioLeMans.com, in sound and vision, and on 24hseries.com. I'm John Hindhaugh. Optimum Motorsport on pole position by 0.058 of a second over Krafft in second, HHC Racing and Century Motorsport share row number 2, ATEC DXB and Cox Racing on row 3. Avelon Formula are the best of the CN cars. The previous cars before them are all G57s, including the Cox.
No, that's P3, John.
That's the P3 car, of course, the Cox Racing car. Then it's Simpson Racing, Graf and Krafft next back, CWS and Krafft on row number 6. Row 7, Avelon Formula with GTL Racing Team Asia, and at the back of the grid, AUH Motorsports. IDEC Sport Racing we didn't see in the qualifying.
No, didn't see the CN car from IDEC Sports, the ELMS regulars, and the number 52 Janetta also appears to be in some woes and is being pushed into pit road now. Whether or not that car will start late, looks like it probably will start this race late. So it looks like we may well have 16 cars starting the race in just a few moments' time. Green flag is about to be shown, or we're going to get one more. There's going to be a second formation lap for these cars. Highly sensible after what was a cracking qualifying session, John.
We were joking about it being the best ever qualifying session on a Tuesday in January that we'd ever seen, but frankly it would put many mid-season qualifying session to shame. Old-fashioned in that it was an hour, drivers swapping backwards and forwards, but basically fastest time at the front of the field. I think what's added to it is the relatively short amount of time that these cars, teams and drivers have had to get themselves dialed in to the Hankook tyres, to the new season, and of course to this 3.3 mile circuit here at Dubai.
Absolutely, they've had just some brief free practice sessions, and very many of these drivers are new to these cars. 52 car there on pit road. Now
that car was out, so that's come back in, I reckon, and that is the Simpson Motorsport number 52. Now the Jordan Sanders entered machine.
That was the car that had the engine change this morning. Ah,
right. John Corbett, James Winslow and Jordan Sanders. Also, I have to say that just as the pit lane closed, the other Simpson Motorsport car, the Philip Hezebroek entered car, for him and Bassam Kronfli, that car might have been a bit late out of the pits. Now, whether that will be waved off, as it were, but that car did seem to be a bit late. Joe Bradley is down in the pit lane.
You are talking about the 52, yeah?
Correct.
Ah, right. The car is just being waved off now. It will start from pit lane, but it's got an electric water pump problem that's caused the delay for this car taking to the start.
Thank you, Joseph. Joe Bradley down in the pit lane.
That might well be some finger trouble after the rapid engine change this morning. The car refusing to cooperate when first unloaded from the containers here. So yes, it's a brand new championship, a brand new series for these smaller prototypes. LMP3 cars, the Janetta G57s numerically dominant, 8 of those, and the little CN cars as well. They're going to be coming round in just a few moments' time to take the start. The start of something much, much bigger, John. 3 3-hour races this week, not this weekend, but this week for these cars. But my guess is we're going to see rather more of these cars as we get into a 4-race series of 12-hour races later this season in support of the main 24H series.
So the formation grid is... Yeah, it's pretty decent. I like the look of that. They come round the horseshoe at turn 14. This is effectively right in front of us. They're climbing up here, and just about where that Audi safety car is now, there's quite a bump in the road, and you've got to be pretty straight as you go across that, even on these downforce cars. The Audi will peel off into the pit lane.
Does so now.
So, history about to be made as the side-by-side 2x2 formation. Bradley Ellis in Optimum Motorsport on the left-hand side of the circuit as we look back on them. Drivers right as he crosses the green flag was given there as the engines burst into life and they head down at breakneck speed to the first corner, under braking. Bradley Ellis on the right-hand side of the circuit has to take a compromised line as round the outside the 57 car, making a good run from a decent way back. That's the Krafft car in second position.
Charlie Robertson has got by that number 57 car, I think, up into second place. He has the young Scots going by Mike Simpson, so the two Ginetta factory drivers duking it out for second position. Certainly Mike Simpson tried to have a look, see whether or not the lead was available to him, but Charlie Robertson spotted that move, took advantage, and it's now Bradley Ellis pulling away a little, but not for long, much quicker through the corner there from Charlie Robertson to get onto terms with the number 54 car, the Optimum Motorsport car ahead. So Optimum Motorsports from Charlie Robertson in the HHC Racing car from the Krafft Racing Ginetta. That's the 1-2-3 in the early part of this first racing lap in the 24H Proto Series for 2017.
So for those of you just joining us over on radiolemans.com, then we are just into this 24-hour series for prototypes. Their first ever race, 3 by 3 hours here. And just to make things make things fairly easy in terms of watching this race and breaking it up, the team's telling us that it is pretty much 3 one-hour stints. But they've found out pretty quickly, Graham, that scrubbing in the Hankook tyres is a thing to do, and not necessarily going with a brand new sticker set. There will be tyre changes, I think, at the pit stops, but I don't think we'll see shiny new tyres going on. End of the first lap of the first race of 2016, and Optimum Motorsport with Bradley Ellis leads from Charlie Robertson in second place. Just 0.8 of a second between them. Third, the 57. I'm not sure who started that car, Mike Simpson or Lawrence Tomlinson. I think it might have been Lawrence.
Might well be Lawrence aboard that car. Now, lots of movement up and down the field. The Krafft Racing car, we know, lost second place in that tussle through.
But it is Simpson in the car, I'm hearing from pit lane.
So turn 2. Rick Broikers, by the way, moves up to 4th place, ahead of the Century Motorsport 51. Colin White does the same to the Avelon Formula car. Bellotti aboard the number 45 car, the Cien pole sitter. And falling back, Philippe Azebrook in the number 50 car. The 52 car, by the way, did start the race and is on its opening lap. Big loser in the opening lap, by the way. Nico Pronk fell back quite considerably in the 48 Cox Racing car, the LMP3 pole sitter. Nico, of course, the gentleman driver, paired with now Acura factory driver Peter Cox. So that progress of that car will be interesting. But Bradley Ellis pulling away from Charlie Robertson.
IDEC Sport Racing at the back of the field there, the 17 car, with an issue early on. And that car was started by David Abramich.
Remember, this car didn't feature in the qualifying session,
yes,
and we've got a pit caller immediately.
It's the 52 car, Graham. Rather unsurprisingly, after all the work that's been going on that car, and it's straight back into the pit lane for Simpson Motorsport. This is the one with the yellow wing mirrors, telling it apart from its teammate, the number 50 car, and it's dropping down. Joe Bradley was there a moment or two ago, and the door is coming open. Joseph?
Yeah, remember, this is the car that didn't take any part in qualifying because of engine problems. Graham mentioned that they've had an engine change this morning. It seems to me that job's not quite finished. I think the objective now for this team will be get that 52 car up and running over the course of today. Maybe use this 3-hour race as a test session, get things ready for tomorrow's 2 3-hour races. Unfortunate, but that's the only positive way that you can go about this car being so early.
Thanks, Joe.
Meantime, fastest lap of the race this early running goes Charlie Robertson. He closes the gap now back to 0.6 of a second. And
in the midfield of the circuit at the moment, with Bradley Ellis now beginning to see the very bright white glow of the headlights of Charlie Robertson as they go down the middle straight down towards the heavy braking area at turn number 10. It's the right-hander.
Tall man from Croydon, ahead of the short man from Scotland. But otherwise identical cars, these two G57 P2s, something like, what, 580 brake horsepower from
580.
those Chevy LS3s, advanced aero on these cars. These are not...
Barely stressed though, that engine.
These are not LMP3 cars with a Chevy engine. This is these cars have been heavily developed by Ginetta, with a lot of the information they've actually garnered from what was to be their LMP2 program.
Well, it is termed a G57 P2, isn't
Correct.
it? In its nomenclature from Garforth.
And as we were hearing from Joe Bradley in the pits earlier, Creventic making it very clear that they will welcome any teams that want to come forward and enter with LMP2 cars in this series. The cars will be balanced in terms of performance, not by weight, not by anything other than the pit stop times they will serve. So you should see through the times for the cars in the full race, the performance balancing out through pit stop times. And the pit stop times we had, John, 280 seconds for the CN cars and the P3 cars, 420 for the Ginetta G57s.
I love the variety in how the cars look, but also how they sound.
Sound fabulous.
Because the CN cars at 2 litres and 1600 are a lot different from that snarl, that deep sternum rumbling snarl. Oh dear, Control Alt Delete.
Yep.
And dear Mum, weather here lovely. Wish you were here, is what's being typed into the laptop that's plugged in to the 52, the Simpson Motorsport car. At the head of the field, 0.8 of a second last time around, as Bradley Ellis puts in a 1:53.5. We've seen a 1 minute 51 round here, which is not exactly holding back. That's barely 10 seconds away from the outright lap record, which was set by the... It was set by Kamui Kobayashi in a GP2 Asia car. Michael Simpson telling us he's sunbathing. He's doing the last lap. It's Jordan Sanders who is in the car.
Well, that's an addition to that squad. He was not on the entry for that car.
Well, he was down for the 52 car.
Ah, right. OK, so there's been a bit of a reshuffle, knowing the 52 car is not in the best of health at the moment. That's smart stuff from Ginetta.
81 is AUH Motorsports, their Radical, the CN car, sitting in... 5th position in class at the moment. This little white Radical. Do you know what? Our friend Aussie Phil here has got a Radical. I'm surprised he's not got that car out in this.
Yeah. I think you're going to find there'll be a lot of people with small prototypes available to them that will be doing more and more to see whether or not this package might form part of their season's plans.
Water being tipped in copious amounts into the 52 car, into the header tank. Joe Bradley?
I would say, guys, I've never fitted a Chevy V8 into the back of a prototype before, but I have done my fair share of engine installations. And one of the Achilles heels of doing that job is getting the coolant to bleed through the full system. And it seems to me as though that is the issue. It stopped the car qualifying after an engine change, and it stopped the car taking part in this race. And from what I've just seen, them adding water and then taking pipes off, bleeding the coolant through the system, hopefully they'll get on top of that, and this car will take part, at least treating it as a bit of a test session, yes, but it would be good. We never like to see cars on pit road looking forlorn, do we?
We don't, but what we do like to see is the teams working hard to actually get these cars out. I think you're right, Joe, what you said a little earlier. I think they're clearly showing signs they're going to get as much track time as possible in this race to get that car in better health for the 2 other 3-hour races that are to come later this week. Lead gap, by the way, got up to 3.3 seconds. We've got a quick shot of why that was. Charlie Robertson in pursuit of Bradley Ellis, running very, very wide indeed at one point, has dropped back by just over 3 seconds now off the lead. 1:56 last time around, 1:53.7 for Bradley Ellis, gives him a tidy lead now. The Krafft Racing cars, we heard a little earlier, and thanks to Mike Simpson for the update, in the hands of Jordan Sanders, now in 3rd position and a little wee way back, but going quicker and quicker. by the lap. And we'll see a lot of that with some of these drivers gaining experience in these cars this weekend, some of them for the very first time. And what you're going to be looking for is not necessarily whether or not they can match a Bradley Ellis or a Charlie Robertson, but whether or not they can improve their times as their sessions go forward. And that's exactly what Jordan Sanders is doing right now. So just 10 minutes in, the Ginettas at the moment cover positions 1 through 6. 54, 53, 57, 56, 51 and 55 gives you a line and a full house and the teddy bear at the back. Optimum Motorsport from HHC, Krafft, AUH, Century Motorsport, CWS. Then it's the Krafft LMP3 car, the number 12 car in the hands of Eric Trullier. And then the first of the CN cars, Bellotti at the wheel of the number 45 Avelon Formula Wolf. And that car going quicker than it's gone in the race so far at the moment. Charlie Robertson getting back down to work and immediately cuts the gap from over 3 seconds to just over 2.5. So he's beginning to get back onto terms with Bradley Ellis, who's getting into race mode. And we heard Brad earlier tell us that his principal role here is to basically help his co-driver for this race, but probably not for the other two, Aid Barwick, to get up to speed in this car. So that's what his role is. He's there as driver coach to Aid, and he's coaching pretty well at the moment. Leads the race.
Yeah, I'm impressed with this already. The Avelon Formula Wolf is the 46 car, one of two, sitting down in 6th position, 15th overall. Still one of my favourites of the CN cars, and saying earlier on, Graham, just how the smaller diameter wheels there really help the proportions of that car.
It's what a 2008-2009 LMP1 car would look like after a particularly big diet and a workout. It's really
or leaving it too long in a very hot wash.
Absolutely.
Leader in the middle part of the lap again in this first competitive outing for anybody in 2017. Welcome along to the new year. Optimum Motorsport, pole position and leading the race with 2 hours and 48 minutes near enough still to run in this first of 3 3-hour competitions.
I'm going to correct you, because actually some of these guys have actually made their way from Thailand.
Well, that's true
but
enough.
Not many of them. Certainly we've had success already this year for Ginetta with their LMP3 car just over the weekend just gone, with a win for customer team ARC Bratislava. And Mike Simpson, who we'll see aboard the number 57 car a little later, and for Charlie Robertson, who's running second at the moment, finished 4th in the PRT Racing car last weekend. But certainly a vast, a big wiggle there for Bradley Ellis.
I still think, you know, they're getting to grips, pun absolutely intended, with these Hankook tyres. For the most part, these cars haven't run in competition with them. And that is first and second at turn number 14. 54 is Bradley Ellis, 53 is Charlie Robertson.
I think Bradley Ellis may have a slight problem here.
He might have a puncture, actually. Let's have a look as he comes down towards the final corner. This is turn 16, the right-hander. And the lead is going to change here with... Oh, huge slide from both of the cars there. Well, this is amazing stuff. So pleased I'm in the commentary box. So pleased I'm in the commentary box. Across the line, there was nothing between them. 0.2 of a second as they completed the lap. Marvellous stuff as they go through. Still the number 57 in 3rd position is Jordan Sanders. In addition to that run, that crew, Rick Bright is in 4th for the AUH Dubai squads. 5th and another G57 is the Century car, and the top 6 made up by the 6th of the G57s of CWS Racing.
Very wide again from Charlie Robertson. Loses time again at turn 6, not for the first time. So these guys are finding out where the grip is, and more to point, where it isn't.
It's easy to get sucked in after turns 4 and 5, because I bet that's flat in one of these cars. Certainly the first set of corners, we were hearing from Lawrence Tomlinson with Joe Bradley early on that that is completely flat in one of these high downforce Ginetta G57 P2s, and they're are clearly taking no prisoners at other parts of the circuit as well. They do look just a little bit nervous on turning, and I just wonder again if they've got the front ends gripping and reacting on the slower parts of the circuit when they're braking and turning at the same time, if they've got them just handling the way they want. And here is two drive-through penalties. Here are then two drive-through penalties for cars 50 and 55 for pit lane exit infringements. Now that must have been laid out on parade.
It was indeed, as both of them. So that's Colin White's car, as well as the 50 car you'd already noticed, the Hazelbrook-driven Simpson Motorsport car. So two of the Ginettas already going to be having that drive-through, so that's going to drop them back.
Sixth position for the CWS Colin White-driven car.
In the 50 car, by the way, has made its way back up through the field and is now running in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th position.
Battle for the lead coming through turn 3, down to 4, 5 and 6, which come up very, very quickly indeed. And Bradley Ellis is just holding on to, what, a Ginetta G57's length of lead through turn 7. The tightening right-hander as he heads through the kink at 8 and onto the big sweeping bank left-hander at 9. Big lock-up from the second place car, Charlie Robertson there, as he tries to get on terms, and it'll be a drag race down the back straight here towards the heavy braking area at turn 10. Joe Bradley down in the pits. Or maybe not. My apologies, I thought I heard Joseph there as our leaders continue to battle away. They are pulling away from a very good field. Now 12 seconds the gap between the leading pair and third position. Live from Dubai, the first ever Creventic 24H Pro Tour Series race with Hankook. Bradley Ellis, no stranger to coming here, and no stranger to Ginetta's either, of course. With Optimums, he's run a G50 and a G55 here, if memory serves.
I'm trying to remember whether or not he's won this race. I think he has.
In class, almost certainly.
Absolutely, but at the moment, it's Bradley Ellis, 2007 British GT champion with a Dodge Viper back then, age of 21, Bradley then, and followed by Charlie Robertson, the 2015 European Le Mans Series LMP3 champion. So both these guys with championship-winning form on their CVs and lots of race-winning form on their CVs. As you said, during qualifying as well, Charlie Robertson, excellent example of a young man who's come up through the Ginetta ladder from Ginetta Juniors, G55s, and now into the prototype programme. I wonder whether or not he might be part of the package being offered by Ginetta to their soon-to-be customers in 2018 with their LMP1 programme.
Well, that's a fair point, well made and pretty nicely presented, Graham, if I'm honest. We've seen that happen with other manufacturers, haven't we? Notably Ligier, with people like Rene Rast and people Durrani in
Absolutely
the P2 ranks.
Up comes Charlie Robertson again, trying to get back onto the rear of the number 54 car, contesting the lead of this race. Not even 20 minutes in yet. Already feels like a proper endurance race. Lapping some of the slower cars, gone by already. The
look at the
81 Radical.
Look at the amount of guys in the midfield and down who is now starting to pick up the pace, though. A lot of green, meaning the best laps. Don't forget you can follow along, timing and scoring, 24hseries.com, 24 protoseries.com as well. All the links are from this big Creventic site, though, so you can go there. And that means you can get the wonderful timing services. No ABS on the G57 P2s. There is an aftermarket traction control system, which the pro drivers certainly are leaving either turned very far down or not at all on. Down to the last corner again at the end of this lap. Yep. I haven't got a lap counter on my timing and scoring. And no, I haven't.
Just going past Amr Al-Hamed in the number 46 Avelon Formula Wolf.
Nothing between the leaders again. 0.3 of a second as they went past this time. Optimum, HHC Racing, then the Krafft Racing. That'll be round in a wee while as the leaders are going through the awesome turn 1.
It's what a great corner, isn't it?
It is a great corner. You are diving downhill. Downhill braking area is very difficult. You've got the blend line from the pits on your right-hand side, and now right in front of them.
That's the 80 radical of Nigel Farmer, very experienced endurance driver.
Yeah,
Gets out
Nigel's
of the
done
way.
a bit of classic racing as well. He'll know all about mixed class racing, and in fact does not hold up the leaders at all coming through the complex at 6 and 7. So much of this track, Graham, if it's not a long straight between 1 and 2 or 9 and 10, so much of it is complexes of corners where you are feeding one to another.
Absolutely right.
And the exit from one begats the entry to another, and you really have to get them right. It's a real rhythm circuit, this.
It is, and if you get it wrong, the rhythm is going to get you. It really is. It's
Get them out of the way early, mate.
absolutely. We've got all week.
Well, yes, get them out of the way for the whole season, if you don't mind.
0.3 of a second is the gap, or was the gap rather, as these two cross the line. Start their 11th lap.
Going downhill now, and those of you watching with sound and vision might not be able to realise how much of a descent it is from 12 to 13, and then in the braking area at 14 you come from the middle of the road, turning in left-handed over the top of the brow, exiting 14 into 15, pit entrance on the right-hand side, and second place Charlie Robertson again going very, very wide off onto the dirty stuff. That will have scuffed up his Hankook slick tyres. He comes out to 16, the final corner, heading towards the completion of another lap. This time it's 0.4 of a second between them, and these guys lapping almost identical lap times. 53.5 for the leader, 53.5 for second place. So Charlie Robertson had gained on the leader until that last corner. In class, in what is that, 7th position, Trillier in the Graf Legier leads the P3 category. CN class leader is Bellotti in the 45, Avelon Formula Wolf, with a good 7 seconds between himself and the Krafft Racing 85 car in second position in that category. The Graf 57 in third. And the reason there's no driver name next to that is because the driver in it is Jordan Sanders, who was slated originally to be in the 52 Simpson Motorsport car. He's been given the honour of starting the tricolour-coloured 57. Lawrence Tomlinson and Mike Simpson. It'll be Lawrence next and Mike to finish the race off as that very pretty livery charges at VMAX down the back straight, down the inside of the number 46. That is the Avelon Formula Wolf, driven by Amro Al-Hamed. Nick Adcock, the second driver in that car.
Indeed, and great example of where the pace is in these cars. Now you should see that that little CN car will stick with it through the corner, just about does. It was letting that car go, and in fact now allows Nigel Farmer to close right back up.
But you know, we're seeing some of those cars doing, those little CN cars doing 57s, 57 and 8 for the Bellotti driven leader in that class. Now, you know, that's a pretty hot time around here for a small engine car. So where he's not making that down the back straight, so he must be absolutely caning it through the corner.
Oh, big fun. I'm sure they got a very sore neck at the end of these races with those cars. It is 12 laps in the books now.
And
still,
a change of lead as they went across the line.
Where did that happen?
Robertson has gone by and has got a decent 0.8 of a second lead. So Charlie Robertson has gone through.
It's happening traffic, John.
Meantime, the 50 car back on the pit lane. This is the Simpson car.
Now the 50 car's got to do that drive-through as well.
Yeah, good point.
The 56 car's also come in for an early stop. Rick Broikers at the wheel of that car.
That's the ATEC DXB Ginetta G57 P2.
And crew being... There is an issue for the car. One of the guys talking to Rick.
Let's go down to Joe Bradley in the pit lane. Joseph, what's occurring?
Yeah, I know you guys have got a great view from up on your perch and can pretty much see. Conversation went on with the driver, so the driver, Rick Broikers, has brought the 56 car in prematurely, and there is clearly some kind of problem. And I would say there's a handling problem, because what I'm seeing is the mechanics go around and shake the wheels. Now, just looking at the surface of the tyre through those apertures in the wheel arches, I'm looking for pickup, and there isn't any. So that's usually the first thing that you would check for if a driver comes in and says, I've got a vibration or the car feels horrible. You would look for pickup on the tyres. Now, the tyres look pretty clean, very early running in the week, of course. And Rick Breukers, and have we got a laptop plugged in there? Not quite, but still some sort of conversation. So I'm not quite sure. I can't really fathom what the problem is. And as you guys can probably see, they haven't sort of gone to work on any area of the car. Other than shaking the wheels, the engine cover remains on, the front end of the car remains on. So we're going to take tyre pressures now. We've got a mechanic coming out with a tyre pressure gauge. So it's a puzzle. It's as much a puzzle for me as it is for the team, by all accounts.
Yeah, I wonder if they've maybe got a slow puncture. That's why they're looking at tyre pressures. Leader coming to put a lap on the 11th place car.
It's changed again, John, because Charlie Robertson's had a problem out there somewhere. He's done a lap in over 2 minutes. That's dropped him 6 seconds back now from Bradley Ellis, who retakes the lead from Optimum Motorsport from the HHC Racing car. Both of these cars, Ginetta G57 B2s, the big Chevy V8 engine, the LS3 engine in the back of these cars. But
well, nothing wrong with the 53 car in the back straight at the moment, Graham. It's going great guns.
I wonder whether or not he's had a bit of a spin out there. He has indeed. Just saw the timing scoring screens very quickly that the 53 car has had a spin and rejoined.
Don't see any damage to that car. A lot of you might be wondering, watching in sound and vision, what the fluorescent strips on the wheel spokes are. That is to let the mechanics know where the tyre pressure valve is. HHC Racing in second place at the moment. Let's go down for a Simpson Racing update. Here's Joe Bradley. Or Bridley.
Almost. No power steering on the 56 car, so Rick Brook is bringing the car in. Now, whether that's an actual power steering rack problem or an ECU, maybe a default Control-Alt-Delete issue with the ECU, remains to be seen. But right now, the only action going on in the car is we've got somebody into the footwell of what is effectively the passenger side of the car, where all the electrics is housed. So hopefully we're trying to reset, maybe replace a relay or two, try and get that power steering working.
Well, it is an electric power steering system, electrically assisted power steering system on the G57 P2. I did obviously pore over the spec sheets when I thought that the inside of one of those might be my office for partially part of the time this week. The Optimum car then leads with Bradley Ellis as we are coming up to 1/6 distance in a couple of minutes' time. My goodness, a half an hour has disappeared very quickly indeed.
It's 15 laps, so they're on the 15th lap at the moment in that first half hour, John. Bradley Ellis leads by 5.1 seconds, a comfortable 5 seconds, but Charlie Robertson, having had that spin and recovery, dropping back 6 seconds back, is now hammering around again and closing the gap again. So Charlie Robertson, again, bit between his teeth, deep breath, go for it again, says the young Scot, and he's beginning to see the rear end of this 54 car get closer and closer.
I wonder if off-track excursions on very hot Hankook rubber on cars that are so dependent on their aero that if you get an imbalance and the car starts porpoising around, that's not going to be a good thing, is it?
The other thing to take into account, it's not something we've said very much about at the moment. There's not been a huge amount of track time so far.
No, there has not.
This track
that's
gets
why I'm not in one.
very dusty.
Yeah.
And we have seen the cars sliding around an awful lot in all sorts of places. Now, I think that's going to be part of it. The grip levels will increase through the week as the cars get more and more track time, as the dust gets basically blown away or lifted from the circuit, and as the rubber goes down.
I think it's the inconsistency as well that the guys are finding at the moment, that they have grip one lap and maybe not the next. This time around, 3.7 seconds the gap between first and second. So that was, what, a second and a half taken out the leader by Charlie Robertson that time around. In third position, still the number 57, Krafft Racing G57 P2. That's the Lawrence Tomlinson Mike Simpson car. Indeed, Lawrence will be in it next, but it's Jordan Sanders who started the race for the 57 car. He's got, a good
15
seconds to Ewan Mackay, who's in the Century Motorsport G57. Those four have crossed the line to complete 15 laps. The leader then, with a bit of space on the track at the moment, is Bradley Ellis, and he's doing a great job.
Yeah, Jordan Sanders equidistant between Charlie Robertson and the Century Motorsport car behind, so it's the top 4 cars now are Genetta G57s up into 5th position. With those early pit stops for a couple of the Chevy engine cars comes the Krafft Racing Ligier. That's though almost a minute back from the leader, so the pace is not in the car, of course, with the
that's not a criticism.
No, it's just a different spec of car.
Correct.
But that's
57.5 is the fastest lap of that Krafft Ligier, and that actually is around the same sort of time as a well-driven CN car.
Correct, which explains why when we get to the pit stops, the minimum pit stop time for both the CN cars. What did you spot there, John?
Sorry, that was 2 CN cars having a battle going through turn 1, 2 and 3. But I think what we're seeing is the Krafft Racing car in second, actually putting a lap on the 81 car at turn 7. Yes, indeed, that is the question. The answer, rather. So
the performance balancing for these cars, with very different specs between them, as you quite rightly say, is going to be done in pit stop time. So the minimum pit stop time for the CN cars and for the LMP3 cars is going to be 280 seconds. The minimum pit stop time for the G57s will be 420 seconds.
So they can't be hanging about, can they? They have got to get the hammer down and get themselves around the circuit. Again, tactically, strategically, not much for the guys on the pit wall to do here. It will be 2 pit stops, fuel and tyres at each, and I presume... Actually, I haven't asked this question. What do you know about the fueling procedure?
Fueling procedure is as for the 24H series, which is the pistol grip pumps at the fuel station at the end of pit lane.
Which explains why there's still people wandering around without any fireproofs on in the pit lane. If I'd only looked down from our Eagle's Nest here.
One of the reasons why these crews love racing at this race, because they don't have to do a 24-hour race in a fire suit.
Yeah. That's also why we get pit reporters who want to come here at this time of the year. And by the way, for those who have been asking repeatedly on Twitter, Nick Daman has arrived.
Fantastic.
He is on the premises and practicing his pronunciation of drivers for the podium celebrations later on.
He arrived 10 minutes or so ago, John, but the back end of his motorcade still hasn't actually arrived finally at the circuit.
Yeah, the rest of the jazz hand has not yet arrived from Nick. He has said a lot since he got here, though. He's obviously been chilled out when he was in Goa at this time of the year. He's sitting cross-legged on the floor in a manner that I think is probably illegal in about 24 states of the USA. Or if it isn't, it will be soon. 17 laps completed by the leader, and the lead has come back down to under 2 seconds as we get the 2017 racing year underway in style with this first of 3 3-hour races. We are past the half-hour mark, 2 hours and 27 minutes still to go, and it's Bradley Ellis that leads the race from a charging Charlie Robertson in second place. Optimum from HHC in the CWS car in fluorescent colours, the 55. Colin White is in 5th in class at the moment, although he is 9th on the circuit.
And has taken that drive through, so it's cleared that one, as indeed as the 50 car. So those penalties have both been taken, so we're going to see recovery now, I'm sure, up through the field again from these cars. But Colin White at the moment some 10 seconds back from that second placed in CN car, the number 85 Krafft Racing Norma. At the moment in the hands of there's Francois Kierman. Is at the wheel of the number 85 car. That car 10 seconds ahead of the green and fluorescent yellow CWS Genetta, John.
I've known Colin White for a very, very long time. Did a lot of oval racing. Did some of the ASCAR at Rockingham during my time there. He is what you can only describe as a stalwart of the national racing scene in the UK. Delighted to see him here for the Hankook 24 and for this Hankook prototype series.
And yep, in Ginetta Machinery and BMW, of course, we've seen Colin. Oh, there's a problem there for one of the CN cars. That looks like
that's a Wolf, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
It's
that
the
Wolf or
Wolf.
the Norma?
Oh, good point. No, it's got the longer rear end. I think that is the Wolf. It's at turn number 3, by the way, and he's driver's right off the circuit. It's not a hugely difficult situation. Now, are we going to see code 60 here? And let me try and work out which car that is. I have a...
It's the 45. It's the lead car. It's
I
Bellotti.
thought it was. I didn't want to say that, but it's Bellotti in the lead car. Great pickup from our camera operators. And that looks to me as though he's got no power from the engine.
Now, is that rear wing askew? I think it is. That. How far back does that hang out the back of that car?
I think that's just perspective, Graham.
It might be right.
It's just on the
I've got
exit
very little of that.
Turns 2, yes, turn 2 into turn 3, and he's off driver's right. Our camera position down there is in the soon-to-be refurbished grandstand from turn 1 through to turn 3. The building has been handed over to a new owner, and the tower that is on top of it. And I'm led to believe from local sources that within the next 18 months that will be being put to even further use. There's a bit of refurb needed inside, but a huge amount of redevelopment around the Dubai Autodrome at the moment, including a brand new motorsport themed hotel being built just behind us here on the start-finish straight. Meantime, the leaders together and battling at turn 14. Ellis and Robertson are at it again.
Oh, what a big wiggle of the car ahead of them there as they come to pass the number 50 car. And
that was Hazerbrook just, I think, coming out of the pit lane.
Yeah, Philip saw them coming, tried to get out of the way, and I think exceeded the available grip there by just a tad, and was lucky not to spin it code 60. And that will be for the recovery of the 45.
Just a quick word, code 60, about code 60, the purple flag with the 60 in the middle of it. This effectively, by anybody else's name now who've adopted this idea, is a virtual safety car. Except we don't close up the field.
We don't.
So the field is frozen from the moment that that goes out. Now, what we didn't hear, but the drivers will have heard, is the countdown to the code 60 flags going out all the way around the circuit at the same time. And it's called code 60, which will surprise you not at all because it's 60 kilometres an hour. The good news about this is that we don't lose too much racing. The even better news is we get back to racing far faster because we don't have to wait for a safety car, the wave-bys, the pass-arounds, the whatever. Let's go down to Joe Bradley, who has a Wolf update as the Nissan Navara safety vehicle is having, well, a little bit of a problem there, getting the erstwhile CN leader pointing in the back direction. Joe, what do you have?
Well, as you guys described, the Avelon Formula Wolf coming to a halt out on track. Car been suffering a misfire pretty much from the outset of this race. The car is now stopped, so it's an engine problem that's brought that car to a halt. They're expecting the car back, as you can see, the crew coming out of the shade and into the hot sunshine of the pit lane here and getting ready to receive the car, see if they can sort it out and get it back in the race.
Thank you, Joe. And in fact, actually, I misidentified my pickup trucks. That's a Ford Ranger, I think, rather than a Nissan. Yes, indeed it is. Apologies to those of you who are...
Is that a Ranger? Is that a Ranger? It's not an
a bit bigger
F-150,
than-
is it?
Is it? It looks too small for a 150 to me.
I wonder if it's a regional special
Variation.
Yes.
Crew cab on a Ranger, I might have thought. Sorry, I'm sort of Ute challenged. I don't keep up to date with me.
The internet, the Twitter will go bananas in a moment saying, "You idiots, it's clearly a..."
Whatever it is.
Yes.
I think the engine on the 45 car may have started. And well, no, maybe not. I thought the driver was trying to draw attention to the fact that it was running, but not.
Not the first time we've seen a racing driver with a strop.
Aha, very good. Get them all out your system before we start the WEC season, I tell you. So Bradley Ellis continues to lead, having completed 19 laps. His gap under code 60 is a scant 1.4 seconds. Now, of course, at racing speeds, that will be far less than that. a full minute back. And again, this is under code 60. So these, in fact, I'm not even going to bother giving you the times because it doesn't really count for anything, and it will be somewhat misleading when we get to 2:29 gaps and people are still on the same lap. So first, the 54 Optimum Racing car. Second, Charlie Robertson in the HHC Racing car. Third is the young sub, if you will, in the 57. This is another one of the G57s. Jordan Sanders, who I think is just 17, been doing a bit of V2V racing this year. Ewan Mackay is in the Century Motorsport G57 in 4th. Best of the P3 category cars, Eric Trillier in the Graf, the number 12 car. Then in the CN, now having taken over the CN lead, is the Krafft Racing Norma with Francois Kilman in it. Yes, then it's Colin White in the Ginetta G57, 5th in class. And they're making up the top 10. Nico Pronk in the Cox Racing Ligier, 2nd in the P3 class, 2nd in the Wolf class. And climbing up the 46 is the Avelon Racing car with Amro Al-Hamid at the wheel. Nick Adcock still to get in that car.
That's 3rd in... No, you're right. It's gone up to 2nd in class, hasn't it? Because the 85 Norma takes advantage of the problem for the 45.
And now leads.
And you're quite correct. Through has gone the number 46 car with problems for a couple of the other cars behind. And Avelon Formula may have lost the lead, but they're going to gain 2nd place, but with the other car. And let's wait and see whether or not the trusty crew, as Ivan Belarusa there.
Well, the car's already back in the pit lane, and Ivan Belarusa on the far side of the car helping to unclip the rear deck as the recovery crews unclip the strop from the front. Now it's up to the guys, and immediately we're back to green. You see, there's the advantage of code 60 in my mind. Whatever anybody else thinks about it, it does mean we get back to green flag racing straight away. Let's quickly drop in with Joe Bradley down there in the pit lane.
Of this, you've probably got a better view because you've got like an aerial view, haven't you? Whereas I've just got like a kind of a side-on view.
All right, back
so
to
it's like as though you're looking at it from a helicopter. But they're just going about this engine issue.
Thanks, Joe. Back to the lead then as they head out round the far side of the circuit from us. There's no working with intent on the back of that Wolf, I'm afraid, which tends to suggest it's been an intermittent problem that has just got worse. Meantime, Bradley Ellis and Charlie Robertson are back at it again. What had been at one stage as much as 6.5 seconds is now not 6 feet.
Oh, and another big twitch for
coming
the 54
out onto the back
car.
straight for the 54. Bradley Ellis, the Optimum Motorsport driver who was on pole position for this first of 3 races. We have had the 85 leading CN car in the pit lane. Now this looks like a proper pit stop, Graham, and Bellotti in the 6th place CN in the 45.
That's the car that's in trouble.
That's the car that's in trouble, yes, of course it is. With Ivan, or with Guillermo Bellotti at the wheel, and that car still not going anywhere. I think this is an interesting bit of tactics from Krafft Racing, pitting the leading CN runner.
Indeed.
So first and second with a bit of open track ahead of them, Graham. 3/4 of the way around the track through 14 again, the horseshoe, uphill horseshoe over the top of the brow.
46 in the pits as well, so this would look to be perhaps an optimum time to pit the CN cars, because that is the leading car, the second place car rather.
Yeah, and that's after 45 minutes, so that's going to make life a little bit difficult for them.
Now, why would they need to pit that car though? Because it's clearly not for fuel, because it would go straight to the fueling points.
Maybe the driver's just feeling it. It's hot
no, they're talking to the driver. I can see from our overhead position.
Okay.
Talking to the driver. So is there a problem for both those cars? It's not tyres, and it's not fuel. So are they just burning pit stop time here? Maybe they don't need to stop for that long. They have to spend 280 seconds in the pits.
Yeah.
They're burning pit stop time.
That's exactly what they're doing, and then they'll roll out. So they're not going to change the driver. They'll roll out and get the fuel, presumably, if they need it. Or he's halfway through his stint. Now, the lead is coming out of turn number 9, which is the 180-degree left-hander onto the back straight. There's nothing between these cars. Identical machinery, of course, Optimum with the orange trim and stripes. In second place, HHC with the white and blue down in the braking area, turn 10. It was a nose was poked in by Charlie Robertson, but just didn't get alongside and sensibly was able to abort the manoeuvre. But clearly, at the moment, Charlie feels he's got the better car underneath him, and the way he's charged back, both before and after the Code 60, would suggest that might be the case at this point in the race. Bit of remedial action going on to the Wolf. Nick Daman will be delighted to see some racer tape going on there. Bit of gaffer tape. Well, if this is what we can look forward to, Graham, for these 24H Proto Series powered by Hankook events, sign me up right now.
Well, those G57s race very well indeed. 0.44 of a second now, the gap between Bradley Ellis and a fired up Charlie Robertson. The car's lapping now in the 156s.
Yeah, just the times have just gone off a wee bit.
A bit of traffic kicking around as well. And of course the attack and defence comes into, well, just taking the edge off ultimate lap times. Charlie
Everybody's
looking very
times
racing.
have got out, Graham. Everybody's times have got out. If you look at the 57, the Graf car with Jordan behind the wheel, his best lap is a 54.9.
Well, it's not
his last
rain,
lap was
I can tell you that.
59.3. Oh, again, a big lot up from Charlie Robertson from 8 into 9, and he's taking a very tight inside line on the left-hand side, right at the bottom of that bowl, if you will, and trying to take the shorter line on the exit of 9, and he's just not getting close enough to take advantage of that. And then, of course, as he locks up, the inside rear wheel is unloaded, and I think he's just locking it up a little bit because it's the wheel that's off the ground.
These guys are pushing very, very hard indeed. This is a proper, yes, it's an endurance race. Yes, they're looking to get the end of these 3 hours, but they are pushing hard. The lead of this race matters a great deal to both of these guys.
But isn't this just a microcosm of all endurance racing now? Endurance racing is endurance by the nature of the length of the race, not by the nature of how the guys are driving the cars. Effectively, it is however long your fuel stint is, driving flat out. Joe Bradley has opened his mic in the pit lane.
No, he hasn't. It's me.
It's Nick Daman.
Hello, everybody. Well, I felt I was given a glorious welcome by the wonderful world of the Prototype Series, because not only did they use duct tape on the front wing of the sister car, the 46, the 45 is still here, but then they used some tie wraps as well. So we're just a £4 lump hammer from an absolute full set for my first report of the year. In more serious nature, the 45, which of course caused the Code 60, is still sitting here. A man has run back to get some very expensive racing oil. As I said, the teammate, the 46, did go out. We used to see how close to the 280 seconds it is when it emerges in the fuel stop. But yeah, the 45 is sitting here with a problem. But
should say, by the way, if you're around the Avelon Formula pits, Nick and Joe, do not be confused if there's two Ivan Bellarosas, because he is an identical twin and his brother runs the team.
Okay. I presume, though, that the other one isn't called Ivan.
It's called Bellarosa.
No,
I can't immediately recall. I seem to recall in a bizarre bit of motor racing trivia that they are also married to identical twins.
Often happens, you know. Happens more times than you'd think. We have 2 hours, 11 and a half minutes still to go of this opening prototype race of the 24-hour series season, powered by Hankook, live from trackside at Dubai, in sound and vision. It's John Hindhaugh, Graham Goodwin, Joe Bradley, and now the redoubtable, the inimitable
Thank
Nick
God.
Daman down in pit lane. The unique.
That's the best word. There you go.
Unique. And colourful sometimes.
Colourful. He's certainly more colourful now after his holiday.
Yes, he is. Sporting a nice bit of colour in his cheeks.
Yeah, but Trump-like, I thought.
Yeah, I think he needs to stop cross-combing his hair, to be honest. Leader is Bradley Ellis as the black and fluorescent green G57.
This is the AUH car.
This is the 56 car.
ATEC DXB. And that was a car that had some issues this morning.
Had some issues in this race. Was in the pit lane earlier on with a power steering issue and is already 8 laps off the lead.
Yep, Rick Breukers at the wheel of the car, becoming a bit more of a mini-me of his dad every day, it seems, from the on-camera evidence we heard from Joe Bradley earlier.
It's an absolutely serious question. Does that car being in the pit lane for the amount of time it was count towards one of its pit stops?
Yes, it does.
Right. So that'll be the same for anyone who's had an issue.
I think the answer is, I think I'm right. The 280 seconds and 420 seconds are the total time they have to spend in the pits for the race, correct?
Oh, right, if you tell me.
I think that's right.
Okay. So, potentially, if you have a problem and you're in there for quite a while, you could be done early. And then, if you can make the fuel last...
Well, you've lost all that time, so he's lost way more than the 420
exactly.
seconds. But I think the answer is that they can do quick start. I don't think they'll have to be there for 420 seconds per stop. I think that's the total for the race.
Well, they've been in 14 minutes, that last stop.
It's a bit more than 420 seconds.
Even I can work that out. Whereas Colin White's last stop is timed at 38. That was the drive-through, of course.
Drive-through, yeah.
That was the 55 was the drive-through for coming out.
Colin White, by the way, is making his way back up through the field. He's now closing in on the Krafft Racing LMP3 car, which is the only car that's stopping it from being a Ginetta 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the moment.
Yeah, half a minute he's got to make up. Third position for the 57. And this has been a very good opening drive of 2017 for Jordan Sanders. Young man with relatively little experience. Done some V2V racing in 2016. I think he's only 17 years old. 1999 he was born.
Darn him.
In November. Leicester's Jordan Sanders, as we'll have to start calling him now.
We'll do that.
Leicester Shares, actually.
Still, though, this lead gap
Leicester
is measured in tenths, and
it's magnificent, isn't it?
It's not being paced. This is these two guys pushing for this lead. Charlie Robertson again takes that tight line.
He likes that.
He does.
In fairness, there are 127 different lines you can take through turn 9.
128, actually, because one's backwards, but that doesn't work very well.
No, indeed. It is a one of those bits of tracks around the world where you go, let me try this. Oh, that didn't seem to slow me down. Let me try that. Oh, that didn't seem to be any better or worse either.
On pit road, and I don't think that was quite expected, comes the 57 car, and I don't think it was expected because out from the pit garage runs, I'm pretty certain that is the lithe form of Lawrence Tomlinson. Had to make his way past the instant tape.
And Nick Daman is with that 57 Krafft Racing car.
It rumbled in, I think slightly unsuspectedly. Whether it took that early, not sure, but Lawrence Tomlinson is trying to bend his lanky frame into the car bearing of his company's name. And out of the car, he's got his teammate. But Jordan Sanders, but this is all pretty standard stuff. There's no real panic. I mean, so they got 480 seconds, 420 seconds, which is 7 minutes of pit time. That's 3.5 minutes of stop if we intend, as we do think, they're going to make 2. But of course, it's not just this time they're sitting in the pits. They have to go down to the petrol pumps and they have to go and get the hand fill, which is not run massively quickly. There won't be a queue. There aren't enough cars. The interesting question, which I don't know the answer, so I'll ask someone, is how big are the tanks and how do they need to refuel both times or just once?
Now, Nick, the other thing that's interesting here is they've put a brand new set of Hankooks on that. They don't look to be scrubbed, and we were talking to people. In fact, no, they are brand new.
They're brand new, yep.
And I can tell you that the 300 by 660 R18s.
How can you work that out?
I can just tell by looking at the
outside, the sidewall. You're fantastic. I tell you should do this for a living.
What other teams have been telling us, Nick, whilst you were still coming through the airport this morning, is that they felt that perhaps scrub tyres might be better, so you might want to have a word and find out what the thinking is here as LT gets ready to go.
The 56 Nick? Is also on the pit road as well. That's the ATEC DXB, the green and black car.
And that's Rick Broikers bringing that car in.
Oh, that's the car which had the problem earlier, wasn't it?
Correct.
With power steering. I thought I recognised the colour scheme from way up in the Erie. There's certainly no panic. I'm wondering whether this is a 7-minute. Is it a 420 total? Are you sure, Graham, or a 420 per stop?
It can't be 420 a stop.
It is very leisurely, and they haven't gone to get any fuel.
Well,
bear in mind they have to do one more stop.
yeah, and they've been in 2 minutes 50 seconds at the moment.
And the steering wheel's back off again. They're having a little bit of trouble getting Lawrence in and comfortable in the car.
I think he may have sat on his belts.
That quite mildly. That helped a lot.
That's just a guess from here that either his belts didn't go on properly.
Second place car is going to be joining you any moment now, Nick. And the 53 car.
Quite close, the blue and white HHC Hexham Horses Carriages car.
Going to be tennis commentator-like at this point.
53. So he now comes in, and he is, let's have a look, definitely getting scrub tyres. So let's just see if I can get Sebastian to show this. Look, there you see there's tyres, even a tiny bit of a pickup on those babies. So alternate strategies. As Lawrence Thompson pulls away, the HHC car has missed his marks in attempting to avoid the 56 car. So they've had to wheel that back. Now, interesting to see now, is LT going for fuel? I'm looking to my left, as we so often do in Dubai, and wait for the cars to dive to the right, and LT is going for fuel. So perhaps it is 7 minutes to stop.
He's been, well, yeah, he's been in 4 minutes at the moment, so you may be right. So that is very leisurely. Very leisurely indeed. They could have even got me in and out of that car without the need of liquid soap and a shoehorn.
Well, we'll see, won't we? Because I think I didn't see. There's no driver change there, is there, for that number 53 car, Nick?
Didn't seem to be. No, they've kept. Pretty sure they've kept the driver in on that one.
Mike Simpson, I can see taking an interest in his Ginetta colleagues' progress.
So the car is now down. The work is done. The man just next to me is timing this stop.
That's Jody, isn't it?
May well be.
Is that Big Jody?
Big Jody.
He's got a. He's now getting a drinks bottle.
And in comes our leader, Bradley Ellis, from the lead at the end of the lap, the 28th lap of the race.
So the space for a very busy pit road because everybody is so leisurely about doing anything.
Yeah,
so,
and it's spot on this. It's 3 minutes before the hour mark now.
There will be a driver change. In will get Aid Berwick.
Right.
And out. Looking very hot. Probably quite a warm office there, that's for sure. Bradley Ellis gets out. And they are going for brand new tyres. So it's new tyres for first, third, as they were running for stops. Old tyres for the team in second, who are still there. So I think it is 7 minutes to stop.
Yeah, I think you're right, Nick.
I think absolutely right.
In the black and fluorescent yellow twisted overalls. Twisted sponsored, which is a Land Rover styling and tuning concern.
That's the high-tech fan there on the Ginetta being used.
The driver comfort device.
That's right.
On the HHC
that's an option
car.
extra. That actually costs from the options list on the Ginetta G57. That's an extra 45p. You can get it in A5 and A4.
For those watching in black and white, it's a part of the regulations booklet, I think, that is being waved in the general direction of the driver.
This one.
Which I don't think we had a driver change for the HHC. Charlie, that car.
Yep.
Charlie, by the way, a very generous young man in terms of his time and effort. When I made my debut, and so far only outings in the G55 on the Talker package, he was very helpful. Let me look at his data, looked at mine, gave me a few helpful hints. The fact that I was never going to be any kind of a threat to him, I think I may have played some part in that. Let's go down to the pit lane and Nick Daman.
With Brad Ellis fresh out the 54, That was a very eventful hour, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a lot busier than I was expecting it to be. With only 18 cars on the grid, so it was good. I think Charlie kept me busy for the whole hour, so fair play to him. He knows the car inside out, and I was trying to learn a lot from him, like watching him in my mirrors. He got past at one stage. I just sort of followed what he was doing, how he was driving the car. I was just struggling with rear tyres really, so I just found a pace and sat to the pace that the rear tyres could cope with. I wasn't sure what we were doing for the second stint for Adrian, so wanted to look after the tyres as much as possible. So, but no, it was great fun. Yeah, it was quite a good race really.
How are the cars handling out there? They seem to be sort of struggling for consistent grip.
Yeah, I was struggling with lack of rear end grip, which was making my lap time a little bit inconsistent if I was pushing, because the nature of this car, the moment you get it sideways, you tend to lose a lot of grip. There's a lot of weight at the back, so I was just trying to maintain that really.
Now Charlie's car, that's gone back out again with scrub tyres. You've gone out with a new set. What's the thinking?
Aid will probably need the extra grip, whereas Charlie would be able to sort of manage the tyres a little bit better, I would guess. So we'll see what the third driver's like in our car, see how he gets on with Aid's scrub tyres.
Well, thanks very much.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because two or three things are now coming into play. By the way, the 52 car back out on pit lane. This is the car that had the engine change this morning, effectively using this race as additional free practice. In comes the 51.
From the lead of the race, by the way.
Correct.
And that is Ewan Mackay, who's brought that number 51 Century Motorsport car in.
And it won't be a P3 car that takes the lead, because the lead car in that group, the number 12 car, has hit pit lane as well, the number 12 Krafft car. So what's going to be interesting when we get probably another 5 or 6 minutes, when the leading Ginettas come around and are back at pace, and when the leading P3 cars do as well, is where we stand with this balancing act after, what, an hour of racing now, an hour and 1 minute of racing now. And what will happen with the CN cars? I should say, by the way, the number 45 car did rejoin, which is good news, albeit way down the field now, but after stopping out on circuit, Belotti back out into the race.
Also, something that I'm going to say very quietly, but other people will have spotted if we don't mention it, is that the pit lane time for the 57 car, Lawrence Tomlinson, going out, 6 minutes 57.
Yes.
Which might be 3 seconds short.
Yes. Just watching the times for the other cars.
Having
in
said
that group,
that, Bradley Ellis, oh no, it's still counting for Bradley. Yeah. He's at fuel at the moment. 52 comes back out of the pit lane now, and that has got on board who? That would be John Corbett, the Australian driver. Popped up from Oz to be a part of this. And the
little bit of racing history.
Yeah.
New series. And
welcome
one too.
I'm sure that all those guys who took part in the very first GT3 event at Silverstone, and there's that great picture, isn't there, of them charging down to the first corner with seemingly 14 cars abreast. Well, that's a piece of history that in the last 10 years or so has been tremendously important in terms of the growth of that type of racing. Now, is this championship going to be instrumental in doing something similar for the...
Well, a host of small prototypes.
Yeah, exactly. I was looking for I don't know what the collective term for not P1 or P2s are. Although, of course, we're going to have P2s potentially allowed. They are allowed in the series once it gets underway.
Well, Championship telling us, by the way, between Joe Bradley telling us that they were going to welcome P2s and this race, that not just are they going to welcome P2s, they've had inquiries as to whether P2s can join this race. And of course, with their method of balancing, with the longer pit stops to help balance them, then of course they can do that. We don't have to get into weights and aero and, you know, all of that. We just do it through pit stops, and the guys get out there and do the kind of racing we saw Bradley Ellis and Charlie Robertson doing from the very start.
Yeah, absolutely.
Simple.
Absolutely agree. So, first hour down, and the leading CN car then is the number 8 Nigel Farmer driven machine. Oh, sorry, the number 80 Nigel Farmer driven machine.
A Riddle Radical, and
comes across the line, and
by goes the number 45 car, taking back one of the laps it would have lost with the issue earlier.
Very many laps lost earlier, and that is again Guillermo Bellotti behind the wheel. Car was leading, of course, and leading handsomely.
Five laps lost.
Sort of lap times that were putting it on a par with some of the midfield G57s and quick as some of the P3 cars.
Amongst the two P3 cars, in fact, and that's without Mr. Bellarosa at the wheel.
And let's remember, in all of these thoughts about balancing performance, that what we don't want to see is performance balancing that includes a very good driver performance. If a driver is wringing a bit more out of a car than perhaps another driver is out of their car, that's not something that should be performance balanced. That should be applauded, and the guy who's doing a better job should get the advantage. And I think one or two other championships might do well to bear that in mind, and also that some cars suit some circuits better than others, and the interminable amount of changes we had in the ACO, FIA, WEC, in LMGTE in particular last year are just not funny anymore.
No, it's not helping, and for the first time as I speak, to the lead of the race, something other than a Ginetta, because it's Nico Pronk goes to the lead of the race in the number 48 Cox Racing Ligier, Nico's car.
Is Nico racing in the 24 as well?
Don't know.
Because he's driven Ferraris in the past,
he has driven the Scuderia Praha car before.
Hence the link up with Peter Cox, of course.
Correct. And in fact takes the lead with his fastest time of the race, 2:03.070 from Nico, and there's still Peter Cox to come. So the 48 car, by the way, chassis number 48 amongst the Ligiers, but not because it was the 48th built.
No, because that would be too easy.
No, because there was a bit of teasing from Peter Cox. This was a car that turned up at the prologue test, in fact, for the ELMS at the beginning of the year, and I noticed the chassis number, got terribly excited to sell 48, but Nico Pronk specifically requested number 48 because lots of his cars are numbered 48. But he's been working with Peter on a development year. I suspect we're going to see a lot more of him in this series.
Good-looking car, another good-looking car. You know, say what you like about the LMP2s, and that is not my cup of tea the way that's gone, but LMP3, I think they've got the formula right. And actually that's a very good colourway for that car. The red accent on the dark grey background working very well, and really highlighting the concave nose on that LMP3 car, with now Peter Cox behind the wheel. Let's go down to Nick Daman in the pit lane.
And the 57 car has rejoined us, completely out of phase, with Lawrence Tomlinson on board. They took off the front right, had a good old look at what was going on. Don't forget, this is the car that was on fresh rubber. They've now put it back on again, seeming to do nothing else, and nothing to the wheel they took off. And Lawrence is now trolling down the pit lane.
Not seated. Maybe it wasn't seated.
And he's doing the wobbly thing now.
Yeah, so there you go then. It wasn't seated. Now, the question I have now is, does he have to do another 7-minute pit stop? Does he have to do 7 minutes every time he comes in the pit lane? Or do they have to do 2 mandatory 7-minute pit stops?
I'm guessing it must be that.
Yeah,
it must be that. With apologies for this, we've not had time. It's very much work in progress, this series, and we've not had time to do our usual forensic investigation on the regulations here. So with apologies
Joe Bradley
for that, we
was
will check
given
it
the
out.
regulations yesterday to peruse. I fear he may not have had enough time in the smallest room.
My guess is that it may well be they've changed since then. Because you know, this is traditional the way that the Creventic guys do it. They talk to, they come up with a solution. They talk to the teams. they come to an agreement about the best way to conduct these races, and this is a brand new product for them, and there's a lot of learning going on here. So we'll wait and see what actually emerges here, and we'll wait and see as well, because what we're going to see very soon, I think, are the Ginettas fighting their way back through to the lead, they hope, and the others don't, because the P3 Krafft car back out on circuit now and leads the Bradley Ellis. It's not Bradley anymore, is it? The wheel of that is a Barwick, but a Barwick car by 7 seconds, with the 2 cars ahead. Nico Pronk hasn't pitted yet, and Nigel Farmer is in the midst of a pit stop. So effectively the leaders are currently running 3rd, 4th and 5th.
Into the pit lane now.
That is the lead
It's
car.
the 48
That's
car.
Nico Pronk.
Yeah, that is Nico Pronk coming in. Sorry, I may have confused things by seeing Peter Cox's name put next to that car earlier, and it was Nico who has done an hour and 10 minutes almost exactly since the start of the race, and now comes in to hand over to Peter Cox. That's a 32 lap stint there for that car. That is a good run from Nico. Now, of course, he's got 7 minutes in the pit lane. And we'll head down to the pit lane where Nick Daman is standing by.
With one of the stalwarts of the 24-hour series now trying the proto, it's Rick Breukers, but unfortunately your car, the 56, is back in the garage. What are the problems?
Yeah, from lap 1 the power steering failed. I tried to understand with no power steering, but after 25 minutes I came in because it was impossible, it was too heavy. They tried to fix it a few times, I got out a few times, but it came back every time, and yeah, now we just stopped and tried to fix the problem.
That's very bad luck, but you have got 2 races tomorrow. Now, you've done some LMP3 racing. How does this Ginetta G57 differ to the P3s in the ELMS and the like?
It feels a little bit more easy to drive. The steering wheel and everything is less aggressive on the car. Of course, it's a little bit faster. Yeah, it's really fun to drive.
What are your feelings on how the Hankook tyres are working with this car? Is it a case that you guys need to do more work on setup? Because it seems that consistency appears to be a problem.
I've not really noticed anything because we only drove for 25 minutes straight. For so far, the Hankook tyres were very good. Yeah, no flat tyres or anything, so it's good.
Okay, thanks, Rick. Perhaps that's the thing you said, guys. It's only 25 minutes of setup.
Well, yes, exactly. Some people getting their fastest laps in, including the number 50, Simpson Motorsport Ginetta. That with Bassam Cronfleet at the wheel.
And with thanks to Dr. Janis Wimpfen, who is here and downstairs assisting the Creventic team in the press room, the minimum pit stop time is per stop. All cars required to make 2 stops to the class minimum. So if they make a shorter stop for whatever reason, they're still going to come in and do a 280-second stop if you're a CN car or a P3 car. And with is that
It's a 53. It's a 53 going slowly down towards turn 13.
I did check, see whether or not it's code 60. It's not.
And that is Charlie Robertson, who rejoined, remember, with a set of scrub tyres going onto that car. And he is, I think, oh, he's got going again. I was just about to say, I don't think he had power from the Chevrolet V8 engine, but now he has. And it's picked up now. What was that? Has he knocked the kill switch? Was there an issue? Was there a pickup problem? Does he come into the pit lane? He does. So dives to the right-hand side and comes in. This is certainly one of the favourites and was in 2nd position in the G57 class, 4th overall. And he's in the pit lane, and Nick Daman is going to be scrambling down to the 53 pit to find out what has happened. But that certainly looked like a loss of motive power to me, Graham, on that run down the hill from 12 through 13, and it picked up just as he was heading into the braking area for 14. Nick Daman is right there.
At my feet, and instantly the team of mechanics undoes the clips and those Dazoo fastenings and gets out the engine cover, which annoyingly has snagged itself on the bit of aerodynamic which provides a slick flick up underneath the supports for the rear wing. Not quite a monkey seat, more just a designed to cover the exit of the gearbox. Now they're having a look in, and they're pointing heavily at, well, nothing so much. They're having a good old look around. There's a bit of a waggling going on. It's the waggling, as you can probably see on Sebastian's camera, looking to see whether there's an issue with the individual spark plugs. They've got trying to see they've got all the spark plug. See, this is, I recognise this even as a TR4A owner. They're trying to see whether the electricery is getting to the sparks. Obviously, on top of every single cylinder, you can see you have the coil packs. There's one coil per cylinder, but they definitely are worried about that right-hand bank initially, but they're now nipping across the left-hand bank with a pair of pliers. So it's a unfortunate electrical issue. They are searching down now, again, trying to look for loose connections. So obviously, this was a misfire, which stopped the car, which is surprising. It would have taken it down to nothing.
And there's another slow car out on the
54.
circuit in exactly the same place on the track.
It's the other car that was leading the race. It's the 54 car now in the hands of A. Barwick. So
exactly the same place on the track, coming down the hill from 12 and 13.
Flicker
a little
of the
flicker of the lights, and coming out of 14. He's trying to recycle the power here. And he's boiling over.
It is.
It's boiling over. There is overflow coming out the back of that car. So that has tripped something in the car. That is an overheating General Motors engine, and you are going to get the other car, Nick, that was battling for the lead. This is the Optimum Motorsport, the pole-sitting car, into the pit lane next to you, and I presume there's water going into Robertson's car as well.
Well, actually, what we find, which Sebastian can show on the floor here, is that is the culprit. They have a broken, snapped HT lead, effectively, though it's a single one. As you can see, that's come off and broken, so that's what they think is causing their misfire. But again, surprising that would have stopped the car entirely. In fact, they're now having a look at all of them, so perhaps what they're worried, there's been a general breakdown of the electrical contacts. Now, it could be with the high temperatures and the car, which is probably mostly tested at Snetterton in 4 degrees, running in the lovely sun. But I'm now going to meander a few yards up to the 54, which is very conveniently literally one garage away. They have also got that rear engine cover off.
Nick, you can follow the trail of water to that one.
Yes, I can see he has a leak. This is easier, even for me.
That's coming out of the overflow just behind the gearbox.
Okay, so they are, they are looking at the radiator in the left-hand pod. They're looking for a leak at the moment, but as we already seen with the non-starting 52, it appears that airlocks might be an issue. And the question really is, the question I or Joe will have to ask Lawrence, is how much hot running these cars have had. It's the first time they've run in anger in an ambient temperature of 26 degrees, and don't forget the sun shining as well, which adds intensity to these cars, which are mostly in carbon fibre black, so they're absorbing heat as well. And is this just a shakedown issue when you suddenly run a car that's still being developed, as you've mentioned, guys, in a lot more heat?
Thanks, Nick. So that, I reckon, leaves the Krafft Racing number 12 in the lead, and our graphics department agree with me, which means that they're taking the information from the timing and scoring, and the red, white and blue Krafft Racing, and you can tell it's a Racing because of that very distinctive concave nose on the straight down from turn 9 towards turn 10, passing the number 85, that is the Krafft Racing CN car in second place in its class, about 20 seconds away from the lead, that little black Norma.
But losing time to the 46, which is pulling away in the lead of the class. What I was about to say before those dramas happened was, it looks like the performance balancing calculation isn't that far away, because what we got was a pretty close battle between the leading P3 car after its pit stop and the leading Ginetta. Now, what this all means, John, with those two cars in trouble, and this, by the way, the two P3 cars together on track, but I think I've got laps between them. It's Peter Cox coming back after his pit stop, but Peter Cox
This is significant here, Graham, because this gets that car back on the end of the lead lap. So the 48 car coming through the penultimate corner will go down the inside, driver's right into turn 16, and gets back on the lead lap. So that is significant, as Edwards Lewis Brown is leading the race in the 12 Krafft car. Peter Cox in second place in P3, but in 5th position overall, is now just on the end of the lead lap.
And he has got about 30 seconds to his next target, which is the leading CN car. So ahead of Peter Cox is the leading CN car, the 46 Wolf in 4th position. Then it's two Ginettas. It's the Mackay brothers in the Century Motorsport 51, 2nd overall. And Lawrence Tomlinson now takes up the chase in the 57 Krafft Racing car.
Yeah, and he is taking 5 seconds a lap out of the leader ahead as we head back down to the pit lane and Nick Daman.
With a very hot and I expect very frustrated Charlie jumping out from the 53. What happened?
So we had a strong start to the race. I got up to second, took the lead at one point, and then unfortunately spun, which was my own mistake. Still learning the circuit, never really seen it before this morning, so still learning where the grip and where the grip isn't. So yeah, hit a bit of sand offline and just spun. And then we boxed, scheduled pit stop. It was all looking good. Came back out, and we were, I think we were just down on power. Suspected coil pack issue, so misfire, and then we found a more terminal issue when we pitted. So it's not worth running in this race. Where we've got 2 races tomorrow. We don't want to risk the car. It's unfortunate because we were looking very strong. But that's racing sometimes, so we gotta make sure it's all fixed for tomorrow and have some strong results.
Do you know exactly what the issue was? We saw a broken HT lead, which would be easy to replace. So what has actually taken the car out?
Alternator belt. So it's it's shredded, which is unfortunate. It's not a common occurrence with this car, so it's quite a big job to get it fixed. So hopefully we've got to get it back to the pits as soon as possible and get on it to make out for night practice tonight.
The car in second, when you're racing, has come in overheating. You've had a problem with an alternator belt. Have you done, or has there been much running done by this version of the car in this sort of temperature?
Well, in terms of desert heat, not so much. We've done a little bit in Europe throughout the season, and it's proved, reliable in Europe. So, it's still, the car's still, a strong car, and it's just a few little issues that we need to iron out, which is the same with a lot of new cars. So hopefully, we can solve this and we'll have some strong results tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great thing. It's like, this is a practice race, it's fine. Quick technical question, you might not know the answer. Does the alternator belt also run the water pump?
I'm not 100% sure at this time, but I don't think so, because all water temp and everything was okay. So we didn't have any temperature issues. That's why it was very peculiar. I didn't really understand what the issue was, because there was no alarms coming up on the screen. I could only just relay my feedback as to what I was feeling through the throttle pedal, really.
Well, good news is race 2 starts at 9 in the morning, so it'll be nice and cool.
Yeah, and we've got a little bit of time quite a lot of time to get it sorted.
Charlie Robertson, thank you very much indeed.
Oh, good questioning from Nick. Almost like it was reading my mind. Josh Barrett wondering if the long pit stops with the car sitting in the heat being a factor to the heat soak.
It could be.
Yeah,
could
absolutely.
Be. But it'll be interesting to hear what the teams, and for in particular the Ginetta technical team, who are all here, I think, and looking after the G57s. 53, we've just heard from Charlie Robertson, will retire from this race. The 54, meanwhile, still on pit road, still with the engine cover off. Nick Damon's gone back to have another look and see what he can see. But a gaggle of mechanics, technicians around the car, looking into driver's cockpit and, of course, into the engine bay.
And it's live from trackside. Graham Goodwin and John Hindhaugh in the booth. Nick Daman and Joe Bradley taking turns walking the beat of the pits here at the Dubai Autodrome, around the circuit on Autodrome FM and around the world on radiolemans.com. Sound and vision as well, of course, for all of these prototype races. And the main event still to come. We've not seen the Hankook 24-hour cars on track yet. That will be tomorrow, Thursday, and then, of course, the race is Friday and Saturday. And there's a little Billy bonus for you. Johnny Palmer will be taking you through the Dubai round of the TCR Middle East. A couple of races, a couple of 45-minute sprint races for those guys. And yes, before you ask, there is an Audi RS3 here.
Is there?
Yes, there is.
Oh.
And it's worth looking at.
Good looking car.
Great car. Great car. There was one at Daytona for the Raw as well.
Went out for a bit of publicity shots.
Yes. Declan Brennan, fastest finger first on getting a full look around the car. Hello, Dex. I'm sure you'll be listening to this at some stage in the future. Another fastest lap for Peter Cox for his car, and he's down to 57.2, and that means he's still taking 5 seconds out of the Krafft Ligier that is at the front of the lead. Remember, Peter Cox just got on the back of the lead lap a lap or two ago.
54 cars had the engine cover taker put back on. I think that car's a retirement, John.
This is the 52.
The 54 ahead of it,
all right, okay,
has had the engine cover put back on, but there is no urgency at all around, unless they would be, and there's the steam again, by the way, from the 52 behind. So unfortunately, we didn't quite get that shot.
Well, that is exhaust, and it's blown the baffle. Oh no, hang on.
Now this with the engine change this morning was for a blown head gasket,
and that is, I'm afraid, water in the oil again. That's what's called emulsification, and if you ever want to know what emulsification looks at, you're looking at it there, and that's blowing out through the exhaust as well. That is not good news.
So the unfortunate start at the moment, the 53 car being wheeled backwards down pit road, the 54 car not looking like it's going to leave anytime soon, and the 52 car, that is done.
Nick Daman is there. I'm right in saying that isn't exhaust baffles that I can see there.
No, it smells horrible.
Well, you're a classic car owner. You know what breather pipes look like if you don't keep poking them with a piece of microfiber cloth and a screwdriver. That looked like emulsification for me.
It's also burning. There's a very lovely smell of a kind of a combination of carbon fibre resin and a bit of wire, which is never good. So that's overheated. The second car, which was obviously I'm just going to grab a very quick word to find out what has caused that final retirement for the 54. Just have a quick word with Abe Barwick. Hey, quick word, what's caused the retirement?
I came off a curb, the car was, the car was fine. It's just a bump off the curb, and then the Motec, the electronics cut out, so I had nothing. What I didn't realise was, because I had no electronic screen, was there's a coolant pipe had come loose. I couldn't tell the engine temperature, because there's nothing to see. I had a blank screen. And the power steering coming in and out, and I just crawled it back in, not knowing. I had no radio, purely simply because there's no power. So,
hopefully you've not cooked the engine?
Well, we don't know. That's what they're going to find out. Yeah. It's not mad, the temperature, when we did refire it here. It's like 120 and a bit, but it can probably cope with that, but we'll see. As it is, I crawled it in for only a third of a lap, so it's not as if I kept going for 3 or 4 laps. We'll see.
Bad luck, but hopefully good luck tomorrow.
This is how.
Character building, as Mr. Bradley would say. Nick Daman, the man on the spot, with Ed Barwick there from the 57 car, was that?
That was 54.
54 car, excuse me, yes.
Well, let's hope that the Ginetta guys have burned all of their bad luck in the last 10 minutes, because that's 53, 54, and by the look of things, 52. Basically accounted for. Where are we in the overall order, though? Getting interesting. 12 Krafft Racing car leads the race from 2 Ginettas now chasing and closing at the rate of about 6 seconds a lap. It's which Mr. Mackay is that one? In the 50. Daniel Mackay and Lawrence Tomlinson are the 2 Ginettas chasing second and third. Behind them, and not quite as quick as the Ginettas, is the number 46 car. That's the lead CN car. And that car is being chased down hard by Peter Cox.
Who's the fastest man on the circuit?
Indeed, 157. It's not quite, actually. Daniel Mackay is just a touch quicker just at the moment.
Oh yes, you're right.
But Peter Cox now under 10 seconds back from the 4th place car and the CN leader. And I'm watching the gap, John, to the overall leader. We've got an hour and a half to go in 90 seconds time, so halfway point looms.
A quick word for a name I'm not familiar with, Jason Kupal, the American driver in the CWS car. He's in the 59s as well. He was at 57 last time around. Peter Cox does his best lap of, and the car's best lap of the race, in the 48 car. That's a 56.8. That's hauling around here.
Yeah, but Jason Kupal, I think, is the gentleman we were being told has taken a slightly different step into Ginetta G57 racing, because he was the guy, I think, was doing Spec Miata in, was it States or Canada?
US, I think. Spec Miata racing to this and sub 2 minute laps.
That shows some talent, doesn't it?
Yes, I'm very impressed by that. He is, if that is the case, he's done a very, very good job indeed.
Well, gaps coming down all over the place. It is a matter at the moment of what can the Ginettas do about the Krafft car ahead, and what can they do about the charging Peter Cox behind. Coxing not really closing terribly quickly on the Ginettas. 156.8 last time around for Peter. 156.9 for a great lap there from Lawrence Tomlinson. 158.8 for Daniel Mackay. The lead gap, by the way, is now down to 27 seconds. So Daniel Mackay 27 seconds back and 6 seconds quicker last time around. Lawrence Tomlinson a further 15 seconds adrift in third. 12 from 51 and 57. 42 seconds cover the top three. We've just gone beyond the halfway point. And then behind those three cars, it's the developing, well, not call it a battle, the chase for fourth position. And that's between the leading CN car, the 46 Avelon Formula Wolf, and the 48 Cox Racing Ligier. And that, before too very much longer, is going to go to Peter Cox, because he's closing very rapidly. Someone's done some polystyrene damage there.
First corner, and the Ginetta number 51 has demolished the 50-metre marker. That was Dan Mackay behind the wheel when that happened. And you spot on, by the way, about Jason Kupal. Spec Miata, so Mark 1 Miatas for a concern called Flat Out Motorsports.
Fabulous.
In the States. Very young man. Finished on the Spec Miata podium before. I think he even had a driver's licence in the States. So that's a big jump forward. There is the 51 car. That car, second position then. And polystyrene killer.
But being,
well, you can see why, because he shaved the one there coming down into turn 16 as it was, and onto the front straight. They are very close to the edge of the track. The white line, of course, does delineate the edge of the track.
He's now under 18 seconds back from the leader.
He's right on the line.
That's what he's doing, isn't it?
Sweeping in to give himself another couple of inches on the left-hand side before he sweeps through that awesomely quick first corner, the right-hander here. And remember, it's flat from 1 through into 2 and 3.
It's because he's got the message, John, that the leader is just, 17.5 seconds up the road, but Lawrence Tomlinson was catching him.
He was.
That's just stabilised the gap a little.
Oh, he spins!
Oh!
Just as we're talking about
him. Watch this. Watch for the Krafft car. Where's the Krafft car?
Red, white and blue.
17 seconds back. Recover
coming
that
out
quickly.
of 6 into 7.
Where is Lawrence Tomlinson here? Because this is a critical moment.
So that's a spin for Mackay in second place for Century Motorsport, leading his class second overall. And that very difficult spot that we've seen today, grip and no grip from 6, exit of 6 and into 7, barely even a short straight there. You just about get straightened up before the tightening right-hander at 7.
I think it's just about 7 seconds back.
Into the pit lane comes the leading CN car halfway through the race.
I think it's about 7 seconds the gap. I think it's lost him around 10 seconds that spin. So Lawrence Tomlinson will have his dander up, and that's a driver change to the 46.
Yeah, and that is exactly half distance, isn't it? And that's a simple bit of maths for Avelon Formula. Amro Al-Hamid gets out, Nick Adcock will be getting in. Only 2 drivers for that car.
Indeed, but remember, they've got to have done the 2 minimum distance pit stops. They had that, didn't they? They were in earlier for the issue at the front of the car. They've got to do 2 at 280 seconds each.
Well, yes, and I've just missed. But didn't they do that long stop where we couldn't understand why they were sitting there?
There was attention paid to the front of the car.
Daniel Mackay is looking very, very racy indeed. Nick Daman is down with Avelon.
Just showing on the camera, and I'll explain for you on the radio, that the tyre wraps and duct tape, which was keeping for a cover over the front wheel arch on. That's come off, and so much so now that's actually, as you can see, kind of broken away on the inner side. It got worn away, so it's not kind of a light carbon fibre. So it's resting quite gently on the tyre. It's not going to cut a tyre.
The thing is that when that car gets up to speed, of course, that'll be pushed up, and the lip isn't. That's why it's underneath.
Yeah.
So that it's not laid on the top, it's actually underneath, and that's why that happens. And I think they're going to go to work with some tyre wraps there.
Tyre wraps, yeah. And behind him, the 45's coming as well for his second measured stop. Now, these are 280 seconds they'll be doing these ones, so they've also got to factor in the fuel fill time. So they won't be stationary, I would think, for more than about 2.5 minutes, but they're using the time they can to try and mend this louver issue on the front right. The 45 out of contention, really, after problems early on, and actually maybe parking because no other driver has got back in the car.
They do have to. They've got time to do a leisurely stop here, but the two drivers that were there with helmets on are both taking them off.
Yeah.
Is either of those drivers? No, one I can see is certainly not an Ivan Bellarosa.
Now Ivan is in the middle now, looking kind of Italian and
he is
swish, sort of a bit cool, liable to be. He's basically not far off being in a perfume ad.
Is he at any moment about to alight side saddle on a Lambretta and ride off into the distance?
I would be every danger that your girlfriend's bottom pinched, I must admit.
Unfortunately, I think we lost you for more for that. Thank you, Nick. Nick Daman down in the pit lane, live from the pit lane here in Dubai as the AUH Motorsports Radical. Now, is that the only Radical?
No, there's two Radicals, 80 and 81.
Oh, yes, of course, yeah. The AUH and the GDL Racing Middle East cars, both the SR3 RSX cars. Neat and tidy little car, this. Pretty racy at the back, not very big overhang at the back there. The rear wing is the thing that sticks out the back. Very aggressive looking front end, and in this white colour, I really do like it. The bad news for the Wolf guys, though, is that the 45 is being pushed away.
That's a shame. That car had been making progress back up the order. But they've clearly decided the task is beyond them. Meantime, by the way, with that spin for Daniel Mackay, the gap has come right down, and indeed Lawrence Tomlinson is getting right on the terms now. 4-second position overall, under 4 seconds the gap now between the 51, second position overall, leading the G57 class, Lawrence Tomlinson in the 57 Graf car, and 158.7 for Daniel Mackay. You might well have got a bit of a vibration problem as well after that spin, and the Krafft Racing car of Lawrence Tomlinson closing in for the kill. And both those cars, by the way, under 20 seconds back now from the overall leading Krafft Racing P3 car. Peter Cox, meanwhile, you remember it wasn't that long ago that he unlapped himself, was it? Well, he's now 1 minute back. He's taken a full minute out of the lead since that pass.
Yeah, and he is therefore just 60 seconds behind the leader. So I said that pass getting back on the lead lap was important, and it was indeed significant too. So P3 leads the race, and that is the Krafft Racing number 12 car, but the gap is just 14.5 seconds now. Then it's Ginetta Ligier in the P3 class again. That's Peter Cox, and another 156 last time around closes him in on the leader, if not the two Ginettas that are between him and the leader. Fascinating stuff, this. And Grim, you mentioned this earlier on. This has been a pretty good effort in terms of pit stop time balancing from Creventic. It had to be a bit of a finger in the air job on this first event. It might need a bit of tweaking, and I'm sure when Trussers has a look at the data later on, he might be able to suggest a little bit here and there, as here
That's
is
the battle for second
place battle, very close indeed. And Lawrence Tomlinson with his dander up through turns 8 and 9 will try and go down driver's left into the braking area at turn 10, I'm sure.
It's not going to be too much longer before this is a battle for the lead, John, because they're closing very rapidly indeed on the lead Krafft Racing LMP3, and I would guess by the end of this lap it will be a visible gap. So it could be Krafft 1-2, not quite there, Lawrence. Number 51 car takes the line and it almost loses traction on the exit of that turn. Lawrence Tomlinson looking for the way by.
Let's not forget, Lawrence is a class winner at Le Mans, and he tries to go by as the 48 car is in the pit lane. And this is Peter Cox soaking up a penalty of some description.
Well, that could be disastrous for this car, because that was looking set to be a real contender for the overall win.
I didn't see, I didn't see something come up on that. Unless he's just come into the pits and... No, I can see the shadow of somebody standing with
I'm watching it out the window here. Okay. The stopwatch will soon become a start-watch. It's quite a long hold here, John. So whatever it is, away he goes. And we'll wait to see whether or not
it was about a minute. It was about a minute, I reckon, he was standing still.
Now, I wonder, was that a Code 60 violation?
Well, Peter Cox and the teams that Peter have driven for have not had an easy relationship with the Creventic organisers. So we're on that, and we'll find out what that situation is as the battle for second. In fact, the battle for the lead has come together. Top three are all the way together, and the lead changes as the Krafft car goes wide, and both of the Ginettas steam through, almost as if he gave them that there, coming out of 12, out of 6 rather, into 7. How very odd. Not sure he realised he was battling for the lead there.
Now remember, it's not done, because we've still got a pit stop for these cars to take, so they have got to put the gap between them on track now that they're going to lose in the pits.
Well, I think they have done that with 20 minutes to spare, haven't they? So they've gained back that gap with 20 minutes to spare before the end of the hour. Question is...
They've got to lead him by over 2 minutes.
Yeah.
That's the point. And that's why, from the Ginetta's point of view, that problem, whatever that penalty was for the Cox Racing car, could have been manna from heaven for them.
Yeah, agree that. Live from trackside here at Dubai 2017, underway in style as far as our live motor racing coverage is concerned, as immediately into the pit lane comes the leading car,
the 51 car.
So that is Daniel Mackay for Century Motorsport with 1 hour and 18 minutes to go. Now here's the question, take 7 minutes off that, and Nick Daman might know the answer to this. Can the 51 car go to the end on just one more stop? I'm sure Dan will be getting out.
Sorry, that was an unexpected stop.
Oh, right.
They weren't ready for it. He rolled in, and I don't think they were listening to us on 87.6 at the track FM. Because...
mate?
Yeah, exactly. Quite literally, they weren't ready, mate, to send the car.
Enough.
And out has got Daniel Mackay. His teammate has not even got his... earplugs in.
No, not a disaster here, Nick, because of course it's a leisurely stop, but you're right.
Being leisurely. Now there's a man with team manager around his neck on the orange lanyard. He's going, what are you doing? Why have you come in? What's going on? So this may have been a phantom call, which happened to the best of us. Don't forget, to Mika Häkkinen, 1988 Australian Grand Prix.
Some attention being given to the left front wheel, which does have a little bit of rim burn on that. Now,
don't forget that was left front wheel, which they were also looking at on Lawrence Tomlinson's car.
Yeah, but I don't think they'd seated that when he went out.
It's precautionary. Perhaps Daniel was upset. So let's go and see what's going on, shall we?
Yeah, don't get too far away from your cameraman. Meantime, Lawrence Tomlinson
I have him.
Leads the motor race. Let's go down to Daniel Mackay and to Nick Daman.
Oh, no, he's meandered off for 2.
Has he mindled?
Yeah, he's mindled to get a hat, and I couldn't use the normal thing saying it's only radio, you don't need a hat, because obviously it's
Right, OK. We'll be back with Nick in just a wee moment as Lawrence Tomlinson leads for Ginetta with an hour 16.5 minutes to go. And this is now a very crucial 16 minutes or so for Lawrence before he bails out of that car and hands it to Mike Simpson for something like the last hour, because they've got to build some time into the lead over the best of the P3 category cars.
Well, in just over a lap, he's put something like, well, just 2 laps, he's put 12 seconds on the Krafft Racing car. Just to clarify what we're talking about here, if this is confusing or if you're joining us late, to performance balance the much quicker Ginettas with their big Chevy engine in the back against the slower P3 cars, there is a difference in the minimum pit stop time.
2 mandatory pit stops for each of the cars.
Absolutely. So the P2 cars, the G57 P2 cars have to stop for 420 seconds.
Yeah.
So 7 minutes.
Yeah.
The P3 cars and the CN cars, for that matter, stop for 280 seconds. So that's 4 minutes and 40 seconds by my appalling arithmetic. So
I'm glad you didn't call that maths.
there you go. But it's, yeah, they've got a haul at this point. There's effectively an hour of racing.
The good news for the 57 crew is they've got Mike Simpson to go in that car, who knows the car and who is very quick. Now, who is going to get in to the Graf Leger? We've had Edward Lewis Browner. We've had Trillia, so it's Frank Mattelli. She's not a slouch.
Yep, it's going to be very interesting end to this race.
Right front headlamp bobbling around for the leading car, and something trailing out the back as well of the 57 as the 51. Now, we saw Daniel get out of that car. I'm still waiting for Nick Daman to see if he's grabbed Daniel with his hat. So now, who do we think will have got in?
It's only
to
two
the
Mackay's,
51. Oh, so it's got back to Ewan.
Yeah.
Let's go back down to Nick Daman, who has the errant Mackay brother.
Daniel Mackay, team didn't seem ready for you when you came in. Was it a missed call or?
Yeah, it was. It was my fault, actually. We're having radio problems just now, so I couldn't hear what the team were saying. We've not got a pit board out, so I couldn't hear enough information. I thought I heard the word box, and I just didn't. So I've come in about 5-6 laps too early, but because we've got such long pit stop breaks here, it shouldn't affect us too much. We might need another fuel stop at some stage, but yeah, a bit of a blunder on my part, so we need to start the radio for tomorrow.
So the car, ideally, at maximum speed, can only do an hour on a tank full.
Yeah, so I think I did quite a bit less than that, actually. I think I did about 40 minutes or so. The pace was okay. I was starting to get used to the car a bit more. Not so many interruptions as we've had in practice, which was good. Just a case of, I thought I heard the call, and that's my mistake. We just need to start the radio for the next one, and we should be good.
Thanks. Cheers.
It's going to need 10 minutes of fuel, I'm afraid, at the end of this race for that. That is, as Daniel Mackay quite right, it's an error, but it's one of those things, and as you guys said correctly, when the car came in, it can happen to the best of them, can't it? Meantime, Lawrence Tomlinson, 20 seconds now to the good. So the order, by the way, with that little bit of a reshuffle, with I think if we could ask Nick, the next task is to find out why there was that penalty for the Cox car.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything back from race control yet.
So Lawrence Tomlinson leads for Krafft Racing. In fact, it's a Krafft 1-2 now, with the G57 leading the P3 car by 20.5 seconds, with 48 laps in the books and an hour and 12 minutes to go. But remember, the Ginetta needs to put 2 minutes on that Ligier because of the longer pit stop required by regulation for the G57s. Well, behind that car, it's another Ginetta now. JT Kapal is running third, 47 laps in the books.
It doesn't need to put 2 minutes on it because it's quicker, but it needs to put some time on it. It'll lose 2 minutes when they both make their last stops.
Yeah, but there's not going to be much time after that stop.
Well, it's going to be an hour.
It's
can they put
before the end of the race? There needs to be effectively the gap on pace needs to be 2 minutes longer than it currently is. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
If he
they
was
made up 2 minutes in 40 minutes last time.
Yes.
So if they pit with an hour to go and they're only 2 minutes behind.
Yeah. We're going to see Mike Simpson hauling. is what we're going to see at the end of this race. Mike Simpson will be fully lit.
There is one point, of course, is that the Ligier did go considerably longer. So your point actually may still be relevant in that as we have the 48 on the 12, that is Peter Cox going through and taking...
Now, what's happened there?
No, he's unlapping himself.
Because he's taken the penalty.
Because he's taken the penalty, correct. He's dropped a 56.6 last time around, though, for Peter Cox. No, let me go back to my point, because actually you made me think there, Graham. Yes, it appeared on track that it only took 40 minutes, but don't forget that P3 car, went longer on its fuel. So it'll depend when the last pit stop is made.
Right. The other thing I'd say here is Peter Cox now is about 2.5 minutes behind Lawrence Tomlinson.
Yep.
That's about right. In terms of the gap and in terms of the relative pace that we can see, they are going to be very close together, all other things being equal at the end of this race.
Well, yes, except Peter's quicker than Lawrence at the moment.
But
that's
Peter's
not a car thing.
Only by about half a second at best, and Lawrence on a good lap is as quick, if not quicker. Then we've got Mike Simpson to come in the quicker car. So it's going to be close, this one. If we don't have incidents or accident or mayhem for either of the 57 or the 48 car...
Do we think Peter's in till the end of the race now?
I'm pretty certain he is.
Yeah.
But he's got to burn another pit stop. But that's where...
But he gets 2 minutes back in that pit
It's a
stop.
bit more than 2 minutes back. It's about what the gap is at the moment. So if we've taken the pit stops now... Those two cars would come out more or less nose to tail.
Yeah. And Lawrence Tomlinson will be in around about 9 minutes. Or if you prefer, about 4 laps.
Correct.
I reckon.
They will be doing the maths that we are, and they will know how close this potentially is right now.
Well, and they drop a long way down, of course, because of that 7 minutes.
Correct.
Because the Ligier will go back through. Let me see, I think Kupal in the CWS 55 Jeanette will go through. By the way, he had a little spin just after we'd been bigging him up. Sorry.
He's probably listening. Got excited. Was probably trying to text his parents to say, listen to Radio Le Mans.
Almost certainly. Almost certainly. Ligier number 48 will go through. All those cars will go through. And Lawrence Tomlinson, when he hands over to Mike Simpson, I think they'll find themselves down about 6th position and then have an hour of the race and everyone else's pit stops to fight back. It's going to be interesting, that, isn't it?
It's going to be... This could be a very exciting end to 3 hours of racing.
CN cars doing well over an hour, by the way.
Yeah.
Well over an hour. In fact, as I say that, an hour and 7 minutes for the AUH Motorsports car. And Lawrenson's in. Oh, Lawrence is in. Well, that's all right. Nick Daman is down there. Nick?
Yeah, absolutely. They were completely ready for him this time. Mike Simpson already had a suit, boot, hands, everything to go. It's looking like there's going to be no change of tyres, though. They are checking pressures on the front. Not worried about the seating anymore of the wheel. Cleaning of the screen, of course. But basically, standard stop, which will now involve a vast amount of time with the car going nowhere.
I wonder, by the way, whether or not they might get a post-race time penalty for that short stop.
3 seconds short.
Now, whether or not it would be 3 seconds or 3 seconds plus a penalty, I don't know. But if the timing and scoring was correct, and the timing and scoring here is normally completely faultless, they did have a marginally short stop last time.
Nobody else has been anywhere near that. 7:16,
7:08,
7:08, 8 minutes. So everybody else has played very much the conservative game. So the number 12 will go back through at the end of this lap. And now, who did we put in the 12? Is it still Edward Lewis Browner behind the wheel?
Over 40 seconds to the good, by the way, Lawrence Tomlinson, by the time he finished that stop. Now that car is rolling already. The 57 car is rolling already.
That was, yes, exactly. Big surprise. I turned round, just going to grab word with Lawrence in a minute. He wants about 4 or 5 minutes to cool down.
They're going to hold it in the fueling area, they must be.
That's a very brave place to hold it.
Well, they are going to have to brim fill it as well to get it home with an hour and 6 minutes on the clock.
Will they get extra green shield stamps for that?
Yeah.
You right, Lawrence? He's all right now. He's cooled down. Lawrence, first of all, you made a second pit stop right after the first one. What was the problem?
I think when they put the wheel on, we caught the brake duct. So, with it being so hot around here, as a precaution, they came in and refixed it, replumbed it. So I don't know, it cost us about 1.5 minutes, I think, but we seem to have made that up, which is good. I mean, Krafft have given us a great car today, so, well, Krafft and Simpson's actually. It's been a joint effort, but yeah, the guy's done a great job, so we've got Michael into the end. It's very difficult. I mean, if you look at it, we've got two 7-minute pit stops, and the P3 cars have only got a 4 minute, so we've got to make up like 4 or 5 minutes on track, so as you can see, it's you've got to try quite hard.
Yeah, you're pretty hot inside the car. The car's getting pretty hot. Now, we've seen some what looks like heat-related reliability problems with the other cars. How much testing have these G57 cars done in hot weather?
Mine's great. So, yeah, we've done loads of hot weather testing. I mean, mine's not above 90, so maybe some have picked some crap up in the radiators, or, you know, it's not just right. So they want us to move for the...
On another point, though, are these long pit stops with the heat soak of the 7 minutes or the 4 minutes something you've ever practiced before?
No, I think that's not good for us. Well, it's not good for any car, but we have a cycle in the, we have electric pumps as well as mechanical pumps. So when it comes in, it keeps circulating, but obviously you've no fans on the radiators on a P car, so it's not a good idea really, 7-minute stops, but I'm sure they'll look at that. I mean, the organisers said we're here to learn, we all want to learn, so we don't want to be cooking motors if we can avoid it.
So Mike's in for the end now, got enough fuel, it's just pedal to the metal.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Mike does. So, I mean, on the hot weather stuff, really, we won the Miami 500 with the car straight out the box. So, you know, it's pretty warm there. We had 2 cars took part in the 25 hours of Thunder Hill. Both cars, that's in California. It's red hot there, probably hotter than here today. So, you know, I think someone's just been unlucky, really.
Mike's gone out and scrubbed tyres. Are the tyres good for 2 hours of running?
Yeah, I mean, the Hankook's a good tyre. I was surprised how good they are. I mean, Mike and Brad's pole times were very close to each other and faster than a P2 car's ever gone round here. So I think that shows the quality of the Hankook tyre. Very happy with that.
Lawrence, good luck. Thanks, man.
Nick Daman down in the pit lane as the leader comes in with 1 hour and 3 to go.
This will be the final stop, or final planned stop for the number 12 Krafft Racing Ligier. So,
meantime, the 57 is still at the fuel stop and needs to be there for another 1 minute and 33 seconds.
This will give the lead to the number 55 CWS, the Colin White car of JT Kapal, a man whose previous racing was done at the wheel of a Mark 1
Spec Miata.
Spec Miata. Amazing stuff. Peter Cox, though, is rapidly catching the Ginetta.
That's great, isn't it? A little bit of exposed carbon fibre down the side of the number 12 Ligier of Krafft Racing in that tricolour coloration. JT Kapal then in the CWS livery. The 55 car about to go to the lead at the end of this lap if he doesn't pit, and he won't, and he comes out of the final corner, and Colin White's racing team will be goes through into the lead. He's scored as the leader next time he crosses the line, but he is the leader of the motor race as he goes down into turn 1. Just attacking that corner, perhaps could carry a little more speed into there. Very difficult though to get used to the high levels of downforce of this Ginetta G55 P2 without having sat in it before, and he has not. Very impressed at how these drivers have got to grips with the cars, the track and the tyre combinations.
What we've been hearing from a number of the guys, particularly those new to these cars, is that it's got great performance, but it's very accessible performance. We've heard the same about a number of the little prototypes. It's one of the reasons why this is a great little formula, isn't it? It's bringing people into prototype racing. We're going to see, I'm sure, many more people that actually usually do the GT or even the touring car races with Creventic taking a look here and thinking, this might be a bit of fun in the lead up to my race for the weekend. And who knows in the years to come, John, where that might take them in the world of prototype racing on the world stage.
87.6 FM. Around the circuit here at the Dubai Autodrome, around the world at 24hseries.com and radiolemans.com. Beautifully synced in sound and vision as we move in the next 45 seconds into the last hour of the race. 7 minutes and 21 seconds in the pit lane taken for the 57 car. Do you think that was deliberate that they went over on the second one?
I wonder whether or not there's been a quiet chat there to say, we'll take the hit. We'll take the hits. So, you know, what you want from this race at this stage...
You want to see this as a battle to the end.
You do, and you want some common sense, and we know we're dealing with people that do common sense in terms of regulations. Still concerned, though, why did Peter Cox get that hit? I think that must have been... The one thing they'd definitely have sense of humour failures about is if anybody messes with code 60, and I wonder if that's what
Peter
happens.
in the car, of course.
It wasn't, it was Nico Pronk when that one came out for the 45 car, stopping on track, now a retirement... the Avelon Formula car. So where that leaves us now with Peter Cox in the lead.
Jeff Capel comes into the race and therefore isn't scored as the leader. And in fact, Peter Cox is, as he goes through in that P3 Ligier, a very pretty Cox Racing car now leads, having completed 54 laps with exactly 1 hour still to go.
Well, we've got Peter Cox still owes us his final time stop. After that, we'll be in a real-world battle for the leading positions in class and for the overall. Where is it going to pan out? As Colin White gives his car a bit of a kick. Friendly kick. Inquisitive kick, but a kick nonetheless. But let's wait and see. We'll know, I think, John, in about 5 minutes exactly what we're going to have for probably the last 45 minutes of this race. Where the battle is going to emerge is this man, Peter Cox, going to be amongst them in the 48 Cox Racing Ligier. Deals with the number 81 car. That is the AUH, the locally based Radical, running well up the order. 4th in CN now for the 81 car. CWS car, polished, prepped, ready.
How long, sorry, remind me again, it's 7 minutes for the G57 class.
Correct.
And the CNs and the
4
P3s.
minutes and 40 seconds.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So 58.5 minutes to go. Peter Cox, I'm sure will be enjoying this. I don't think he was enjoying sitting looking at Mountain Wing, holding a stopwatch in the penalty box, but is enjoying the chase. A racing driver does love a chase. They like leading even more, but a chase will do if that's what you've got dealt to you. No problem, by the way, for this 55 car. This is just the CWS squad soaking up that 7-minute stop. Car will rumble down from here to the fuel area. And remember, the 51 car, which was one of the other cars in overall contention, a problem for the radio meant that they stopped a little early. They will need a splash of fuel. So they've soaked up both their 7-minute stops, but will need to stop again.
And just again, I'm going to throw my weight behind this idea of using time spending in the pit, standing in the pit stop. It's not very dynamic, I know, but what it means is that no money is spent by the teams in modifying their cars. So it's not saying to the guys in the Ginetta G57 P2s, you've got to run a smaller restrictor, therefore you've got to remap your engine, therefore you've got to go and do a whole load of testing to work out what your fuel consumption is, etc, etc, or use a narrower wing or raise the ride height. Well, why would you do that? That has safety implications, and I'm always a bit worried about that. Oh, well, let's pile on a bit of extra weight. See the answer above. Again, a G57 is a 900 kilogram car. If you're going to put another 100 kilos of lead on it, then again, there are knock-on effects to components of the car. It's not very exciting to see cars standing still in the pits, but if we get the dash to the flag in the last 15 minutes, then it's worked perfectly and nobody has spent shed loads of euros. And I think we are. I think this has been a pretty good guesstimate by the Creventic team to put this together.
I think so. It's not got in the weather racing either, and we've had battles between the cars in classes.
Yeah, and I should mention as well, the other thing is, of course, that the reason that the 7 minutes is so long, and it does sound long, is that has to take in the fuelling, and the fuelling is at the Hankook 24-hour fuel station, which is a standard pistol grip fill. So
yes.
It's not a quick dump.
It's most certainly not.
A bit like Joe Bradley, never a quick dump.
55 minutes to go. Peter Cox on pit road, 41 seconds into what will be at least a 4 minutes 40-second stop.
Well, it wants to be just that, doesn't it? Now, the question is to me is, will they give Peter some new Hankooks to go to the end of the racing on, should I say? Or will he be happy with the ones he's got on? They've got bags of time to do it, Graham.
Yep, and see Nick Daman striding down pit lane
striding
towards him.
manfully.
Striding down there.
So Nick is sashaying. Let's go down to Nick for a moment because he can give us a report on the number 55. JT Kipal brought that car from CWS in from the lead. Nick?
Yes, and a very unwelcome, I'm sure a very pleasant man, sidled up to the team manager and handed them with a speeding in the pit lane penalty. So they will have to come in and take a penalty next time around. And I'm almost at Peter Cox, who very perversely, they have parked this car at exactly pit exit, when everything else is in pit in. They're merely designed to give me and Sebastian a workout, which, you know, I don't really need. I'm ommed up, my cheese are all balanced, everything like this, but Sebastian looks like he's blowing a bit, what can I say? But they have got new tyres. We've reached it. It's about to go, obviously.
So have the tyres gone on, Nick?
Yes.
Ah.
With 3 other tyres. And they are just holding now, Peter, waiting for the type. Oh, that's lucky, because we've actually got the camera up and the car hasn't actually left. And it's gunmetal, very popular these days, a bit of gunmetal silver, isn't it, with racing cars? And red. And it's very dynamic and exciting. The man whittles his finger, and Peter will take off with brand new tyres to try and win the race.
There, where's he going to come out is the question.
Turns right for fuel. We'll need to spend 2 minutes doing that. He's got just 53 minutes of fuel to put aboard that car. Now, certainly in the LMS spec, those LMP3 cars can do literally just about a minute under an hour on the fuel. I'm guessing they're at exactly that same spec here.
He's got 53 minutes, so there's not an issue there. You'll brim fill it. You'll tell him to run it full rich. It's what a problem! Under braking there into turn 10 for the number 50 car. That is the leading Janetta.
That's Bassan Cromfleet, and he's a long-time radical racer.
Not the first time, Graham, I've seen a faster car go diving up the inside into turn 10 or turn 12 and then find they can't get stopped and turned and had to give the position back for a moment to the slower car and then take them back on the straight. Just need to make sure you're getting it right there, because contact would be very costly at this stage of the game. And in fact, he was going past the leading Krafft Racing CN car, which is at the moment being driven by Max Portolani.
Well, the first indication we've got as to how this is actually panning out, John, is in the battle at the moment for what will become the lead, but is currently for second and third place, and that is Metelli in the Graf Ligier, second place, with Peter Cox still stationary in the fueling area, and will be for at least another, well, in fact, due to come out any time now. He has got 30 seconds over Bassan Cronfley in the chasing number 50 Simpson Motorsport Ginetta. So with 50 minutes to go, and those cars having completed their mandatory timed stops, the gap is 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It's about right.
Mike Simpson straight down to a 54.3 on either his first or second flying lap, not much more than that. Maybe his third, but that is the fastest lap of the race for that car, the 57 car, second in G57 class, but that's not what they're looking at. They're looking at a potential win here, and they are 4 minutes and 36 back from the leaders.
Well, he's not quite, because that's still scored as Peter Cox. What he is a minute and 16 back from the Krafft Ligier, which has done its stops. So he needs to make up a minute and 16 seconds in 51 minutes. We'll have to see where Peter Cox comes out.
He's come out in second.
Not yet. No, he's not come through. It'll only be scored as he passes the line.
He's on his outlap now.
Correct, but he's not finished the outlap.
4:43 is...
It's exactly right.
Spot on the money, isn't it? 3 seconds. That's all right. 3 seconds to the good.
I think he has come out.
No, I think he has come out in second because Cronfley hasn't come through yet, Graham.
Correct.
That was my point. So he's
pitted. That's why he's pitted.
So that's the last lap, last pit stop for Cronfley, because they had did they have a problem in the 50 car? No, they had a drive-through because they were late on parade. So this is their last pit stop.
I don't think Peter Cox is in second place. I think he's still he's come through in third place. Where is Mike Simpson? Let's wait and see.
Well, Peter Cox has completed 56 laps. So where is Simpson? Now
Simpson's shown as being in the third sector.
50 car in the pit lane is getting new front tyres.
There goes Simpson now.
You're right.
Mike Simpson is up to third position, and now Peter Cox goes through right behind Mike Simpson. Now, bear in mind that both those cars, as with the 50, have all had an extra stop.
Yeah.
Because the 50 car, you're quite right, had that drive-through.
And Peter now Cox back in again, which I don't think is a standard stop, because they were looking at the front end of that car.
It may not be a standard stop, but oh no, you're right. There's 4 stops for that car. So the Krafft Racing car had that issue, as we heard from Lawrence Tomlinson telling Nick Daman that they'd snagged the brake duct as they changed the wheel, and Peter Cox had that minute stop and hold. So very few of these cars have run issue-free, whether or not that's been self-inflicted or mechanical. But the net result of that is that what we're going to have is the Krafft Racing Ligier ahead of the Krafft Racing Ginetta, ahead of the Cox Racing Ligier. And what it's all about now is what kind of pace can Peter Cox squeeze out the 48 against the pace that Mike Simpson can squeeze out of the Ginetta. The gap, I'm waiting for that gap to the leader this time around rather than to Bassan Cronfley from Mike Simpson. Just the way this timing works, so that we're getting the feed to the box here. We can't at the moment see what the gap is from Mattelli to Simpson.
Yeah, and they can turn you up some look anyway.
But that will come any moment now, with Mike Simpson in the final sector and coming back towards us. The other factor here, by the way, is that there's Simpson coming through the last couple of turns. That's Peter Cox, who's in close proximity to the Ginetta, but I think dropping back a little. It's a minute and 13 seconds is the gap from Mattelli to Simpson. Peter Cox is a further 5 seconds back.
Agreed. Now, Joe Bradley has just rejoined us in the pit lane, and he is on his way to the 50 pit. They have now been in the pit lane for over 3 minutes. Question is this an additional stop? It is the 4th time they've been in the pit lane. Joe Bradley?
The car's just rolled out beneath me. I'm just heading down to the team. So this is a pit stop that we are querying as to exactly why.
Well, what we're querying, Joe, is whether this is going to be a full 7-minute pit stop or whether it is an additional stop and therefore they've done their mandatory 14 minutes, if you will.
Right, well, the car's gone out. It's taken on fresh tyres, and maybe
it's gone into the fuel stop at 3:46.
I think this is its second 7-minute stop.
I think it is. Yeah, I think we had a couple of extra runs through the pit lane for that car.
All right. Even the guys are confused. Even the team's confused. So,
right.
Chance to we stand. Hang on.
Well, we'll wait for Joe to have a proper word with the team outside of the with the microphone turned off, and find out what's happening there. What we can tell you is that Mattelli leads the motor race in the number 12, Krafft Racing, and 2 stops on the board, both over the 4-minute 40 minimum. So effectively, that car has done what it needs to do and should be able to go to the end on the fuel that it's got. Michael Simpson in second place for the 57 Ginetta has done its 2 maximum stops, 7:21 and 6:57, plus a 3rd stop for a loose wheel. But the key part of that is it spent a mandatory 14 minutes in the pit lane between those 2 long stops. It would seem 1 minute and 10 between first and second. 6 seconds further back, Peter Cox has just put in his and his number 48 Ligier's fastest lap of the race with a 56.4 in 3rd position. And again, the laps are completed on that car. Loose rear wing for the 46. In fact, it's the whole rear bodywork that's shaking about as well on that car.
That is the 5th place car in CN. Yes, John, despite the fact that was the fastest lap of the race for the number 48 car, that still lost 1.4 seconds to Mike Simpson. Charging along, takes 4.5 seconds out of the lead. It's not going to be long before that lead's under a minute, with 44 minutes to go. This is going to be close.
I think it's going to be closer between Peter Cox and the 12 car. I think Mike Simpson, if he continues to do what he's doing at the moment, taking 4 or 5 seconds out of that lead, what's that, 10 laps?
Indeed. But,
so that's 20 minutes.
In traffic, the Ligier has matched Mike. But once he's got some clear airs, the number 52 car, which by the way is not a retirement, the 52 car's just come back into the pits. So the car that we saw all that multiplication from earlier, they've sent it. That's James Winslow gets out.
Brandon Godovic has got into the 55 car, the CWS, and Godovic is a real star in my mind. He's done such a good job in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo. Meantime, the 52 car in the pit lane, with all kinds of people looking at it. Charlie Robertson brought the car in. Well, that was a long time ago, though, wasn't it? Oh, no, that was the 30 car. It was James Winslow brought the 52 car in.
It was the first time James has bought the car.
Yes, looking one too far up the pit stops.
I'm guessing they've taken that car back. They've had a look at the issue. James has been out to just do a lap or so. I don't think that car's been out for very long. Yes, it was pretty brief. Peter Cox again quickest lap of that car's race, a 1:56.00.002. But Mike Simpson under 1:55 now again, and pushing very hard indeed.
Let's go down to Joe Bradley, who's had a chance to speak to the team now, and see if we can clarify that 4th pit stop for the number 50 car, which is still going on. They've been in the pit lane now 8 minutes. They're still in the fuel stop, so that's another long pit stop, Joe.
Yes, it is, but the team are telling me they've only pitted. I've caused confusion when I've said, is that your second mandatory? You've pitted 4 times. It's like, we've only pitted twice. We've only done our 2 mandatory. So I know the screen's showing 4 pit stops. Is that what we're going off? Because the team are claiming they've only done 2.
Well, yes, and they've definitely done a drive-through as well, which is not a pit stop.
Right, maybe that right. So that would show as a pit stop on the screen,
correct,
wouldn't it? Into the pit lane.
Yeah, they had to do a drive-through because they were late out of the pits. They missed the pit lane closing time. Oh, off! Oh, it's the 57.
Oh no! It's big damage to the rear.
Simpson with damage to the left rear, and that is the 57's chance of a victory here gone.
It's early in the lap as well. Now,
left rear of that car has been destroyed. No contact, we're hearing from the TV truck. Thanks, guys. That car has given up the ghost on the left rear, and the left rear Hankook and wheel at a very jaunty angle now. Is that a drive shaft issue, or is it an issue with the suspension?
We had identical looking failures to 2 of these cars deep into the Thunderhill 25 hours at the left rear. Right. I think I'm right. I'm sure the genetic guys will correct me if I'm wrong, but they did have a problem at the rear of certainly one of those cars at the end of the 25 hours of Thunderhill when the cars were leading.
The rear bodywork is damaged. That's not the issue. It's the fact that the left rear wheel has, well, it's got a puncture now, but was that cause or effect? But definitely the tyre is moving around on the rim, and Mike is doing a sterling job trying to keep it all together. But is that all it is? For a moment to me, it looked like the wheel was moving around as well, but that might just be the tread migrating across the left rear wheel itself. And he's got more than half a lap. He's only now at turn 8-9. Now, what somebody needs to be on the radio telling Mike is that he can shortcut back through. He could have done that between, well, he might have been just past the shortcut onto the hill circuit. Now, he's losing time here, and come across to the left, Mike, and you can shortcut a huge amount of the circuit here and rejoin at 14. Somebody needs to be on the blower. Get on the phone. There's his opportunity. Come on, turn left now. Oh, he's gone by it. So he's going to do the full lap. Well, reset everything. Stop writing the headlines. Sit yourselves down and get ready for an amazing 39 minutes of this first of 3 by 3 hour prototype races in Dubai.
Now it's about whether or not Peter Cox can catch the Krafft Racing.
Now it's for the win.
And now it's for the win.
It's not just for second place anymore. This is Cox Racing's Ligier against the Krafft Racing Ligier. Mattelli versus Cox. And, well, do you know what? Ewan Mackay's not out, except he's got to stop for some more fuel.
He's got to stop for fuel.
Man, that's going to be costly for them. They're only another 40 seconds further back. They would have had half a chance.
And catching the leader by 3 seconds a lap. Not catching Peter Cox at the moment, but could be that that's going to cost them second place.
Well, who's next up? It's one of the CN cars that will be next up.
You know what?
They might have a CN car on the overall podium.
Or it might be, because they won't need much fuel, it might be
a splash and go.
A splash and go. They're just going to need probably about 10 minutes of fuel. Plus a run down pit lane, of course.
He can't, surely. There goes the position on the 57 car. And that is the lap going back. Now, I think, now having had a better look from our colleagues at television, that has just been a left rear puncture. There is now only the very outside of the tyre wall that is left there. The rest of the tread is gone. It's not the rim on the ground, it's not the metal on the ground, it is just the outside.
And it happened right at the beginning of the lap.
Turn 1. It does just point out how secure and sturdy the sidewalls of those Hankook slicks are, because it's keeping the car off the road on its own.
I have to say, that car has held together beautifully.
Well, also credit Mike Simpson for getting back in a timely manner, but without completely destroying the car.
It's lost him 3 laps so far.
So new bodywork will be thrown on. There's brake ducting that needs to be sorted.
I'm going to tell you that they will retire that car.
Do you think they will?
Well,
to have a look at it.
I think they'll retire the car because I can't see any bodywork available. They're going to see whether or not that car is safe to run just with the tyre.
A lot of that is going to come from what Mike tells them and what they can see underneath to see if something's been catching that wheel. Extraordinary that the 2 outer edges of that Hankook slick have stayed on and on the bead of the rim as well.
Yeah, they're going to try to get the legality panel off. They've done that.
What they're looking for, I think, Graham, is what might have caused some rubbing down there.
Maybe, yeah.
You know, Mike was not that far into his stint, was he?
No, and he was making fantastic progress into the lead. Gap, by the way, for the lead while we're watching this drama on pit road is
pop rivet's been used
56 seconds is the gap first to second between the 2 Ligiers, and 6 seconds quicker last time around, almost 7 seconds quicker by Peter Cox. 35 minutes remain.
And just to underline how stiff that sidewall is, there's a wheel leaning against it with a tyre on, which probably weighs, I don't know, what, 8-10 kilos?
Yep.
And it's not bending it at all. And that wheel rim is not resting. Now that looked like Bradley's.
It is.
Is that Bradley's foot or is that Nick's foot?
That's
it looks like a Bradley foot.
Looks to me like the 70s Tastic, Joe Bradley's.
Joe, that's extraordinary that they've got that back with still the sidewall not just intact, but on the bead of the rim.
It looks like actually, we look like we run a few more laps on that sidewall. Not very much, you know, just a bit of grip from that edge. I'm not going to be as stupid and touch that edge because that's red hot. As you can see, I think the biggest issue potentially from all of that bodywork that was ripped off, and now we're going to work with cable ties and gaffer tape to get the car back in the race, is possibly the ducting that will cool the brake disc.
Yeah. Lawrence
Tomlinson, the Ginetta man himself. Lawrence, I think the biggest, the lack of a brake duct to cool the brake. Would you say?
Well, I think you'll get to the end. I don't think it'd be too much of a problem. It's rear brakes, so it's not the end of the world. He had an issue. He had a blowout going into turn 1 just before he hit the brakes, so it'd be quite exciting for Mike. I'm glad it was someone with his skill, not me.
And it's a shame he had the whole lap to complete. Considering he's done quite a job to get that car back without damaging more bodywork.
Yeah, it's not been easy. He's done it before. Obviously, he's a proper driver, so that's all right. We were just working out that we were catching the leader at seconds a lap, and that we needed 15 laps to catch him, and then we had the blowout. So it's been a good fun race so far.
Lawrence, while we've got you, what's your thoughts on the pit stop times for the G57s? Have we got it about right, or it still needs a little bit of refining?
Well, I think there's just a couple of issues there. That, you know, the heat soak, sitting a 500 plus horsepower car in a pit lane for 7 minutes is a long time. But also, I think you can see that realistically, it favours the P3 car. So it's impossible really for us to catch the P3 car unless we run the perfect race. So and they have trouble. I never really understand those sort of the way you do it, because they're different classes. It's not like they're even the same cars. I think going forward, the obvious thing is you run a P2 class, you run a P3 class. That's what everybody does around the world. You know, if you look at ELMS, you're on P3, you're on P2. That seems a very logical solution. And then you just do the pit stop in whatever is appropriate for safety.
How How do you think this G57 would shape up against a contemporary P2 car at the moment?
The Gibson powered cars, it's hard to say because they've not really run apart from Raw before the 24. I mean, I think they'll be really fast. Gibson make a good engine, obviously Zytec I know very well. Their cars look good. I mean, I think we could make this car as fast as the current P2 cars, but then just how fast do you want to go?
And what about the 2016 cars? The likelihood that we're going to see 2016 P2s in the 24-hour series, in the 24-hour prototype series, I should say. Is the G57 going to fit well with those cars?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at the fastest lap time for any P2 car around here has just been done by that on Hankook's. So it's happy days, really. We've done back-to-backs with round Estoril with this car when we had a set of Michelin P2 tyres, and it matched the P2 pole time. And as you know, really, with the P2 cars, the P2 cars really need to be on Dunlops in that particular series. They're worth about a second. So it's thereabouts. You have to remember that this car is about the same price as a P3 car, and the engine does 15,000 kilometres guaranteed. So it's a great way of doing P2 racing, and I think it'll really benefit Creventic. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, why do you want to cripple the car that's come here, brought 8 cars? You know, you should balance it out. Just give us the same pit stops as a P3 car. Happy days.
Well, he would say that, of
he
course.
He would say that, wouldn't he?
But he got a nice
plug-in.
Nice plug-in. It's getting very interesting at the front of the field. Peter Cox has just done 2 laps in the low 55s, 3 now. He did a 55.2, a 55.5, 55.3, and now a 55.6.
But Mattelli is responding,
yes,
and is bringing his times down. 58.1 that time, so the rate of closure is coming down. It's 48.5 seconds. 29 minutes to go.
Frank Mattelli leads the race in the Krafft, the tricolour coloured number 12. Diving down the hill now to the left-hander at 13 in the lengthening shadows here. Local time is just after 25 minutes before 5 o'clock in the evening. And it is pretty much like switching off a switch here when the sun goes down. Gets dark very quickly, but we should be all right tonight. Very long a night, a lot of darkness here for the 24-hour racing. We do have some night practice for these cars later this evening because their 3rd race of the weekend, their 2nd race of tomorrow, will be into full darkness.
Indeed.
None of us will be here to talk about it because the welcome barbecue starts halfway through, so
really?
we'll be bailing out.
That's tragic news for the listeners. Fantastic news for us.
Last half of the race will be left. No, we're not. We're not going to do that. Of course, we're not. We will stand. We will stand heroically in by our posts. So, Frank Mattelli then doing a great job in this Krafft Ligier GSP3 and a 57.9 last time around. He's only 4/10 away from his best lap of the race. 55.6 from Peter Cox, and now a 57 flat. Well, that's 57 flat is a second and a half away from Peter's best lap in that car, and the gap is down to 47.6 seconds for the lead and the win. Both P3 cars still waiting for Ewan Mackay to come through. He must be just ahead of the leader at the moment, I think, because he's still just on the back end of the lead lap and will come through any second now in the number 51 Century Motorsport Ginetta G57. The truth of all of this is none of the Ginettas have had a clean run.
Well, in fact, to be blunt, very few of the cars in the field has had a clean run.
Except the 12.
The 12, indeed, has had its 2
mandatory stops, and that's it. And that's how you win endurance races, with due respect to anybody else.
Absolutely. Mattelli, meanwhile, is into the 57s.
You've got to have a clean race
to
win the race is exactly how it should be.
Absolutely right. They're telling into the 57s now, 58 flat. It's, you know, Peter Cox is not catching that car quickly enough.
Roman Wozniak has just put in the fastest lap for the IDEC Sport Racing Ligier. Now that's a CN Ligier, of course, the GS53. Just saw that green pop up. Now he's third in the CN class, but he's nearly 80 seconds behind second place. That is the Krafft Racing number 85 car, which is 14.5 seconds back behind its teammate car, the 82. Still Bortolami behind the wheel of that, and that leads the CN category.
46 car, meanwhile, I'll tell you something, I don't know who makes the clips that hold on the bodywork for that Wolf, but if you're into motorsport and you're building your own car, get some of those, because that's shaking around so hard I can barely believe any panel's still on it. It's had some problems with the front end of the car earlier. That's clearly not sorted, because the front bodywork and the entire rear wing assembly are rattling around.
I think it's the wing on its... Oh, no, it's not.
It's the front bodywork as well.
Yeah, I think that's setting up. Look how quick that is through turn 11 and up the hill to 12. Much quicker than the leading Graf prototype. That just goes to show you where the aero's working for that CN car. Much smaller capacity, lighter car. So he's going to be quick through 13 into 14 as well, wobbly wing or not. Another good-looking car, that 46, down in 5th position for Nick Adcock. Another experienced British national motorsport driver. And
Mike Simpson closing on that car. 6 seconds a lap to take a position, a bit of pride. Mike still in, by the way, a class podium position, but
and
that will
just
be
done the fastest lap of the race for the 57.
Yeah.
That's a 54.1 and was the fastest man on the track last time around.
Indeed, and that's...
in fact, that is the fastest... No, it's not. Sorry,
both,
take that back.
Both Bradley Ellis and Charlie Robertson into the 53s early in the race. But that would be no consolation. They could have been the winners here, and that blowout... Now, they want to know, they want to understand that, because we've not seen any sign at all of that elsewhere.
There was a very quick message that came up on the screen about an incident involving 57 to be investigated. So whether that was potentially some side-by-side contact or what, I'm not sure. But maybe that's a question to ask of Mike at the end of the race. Maybe we'll get him before we reset for tomorrow. Two more of these intriguing prototype races tomorrow. One which will go into the darkness once again in sound and vision on 24hseries.com plus radiolemans.com. Graham Goodwin and me, John Hindhaugh, in the booth. It's been Nick Daman and Joe Bradley down in the pit lane today for us, and it will be the same team tomorrow. The rest of our Hankook 24-hour Dubai squad en route from the UK on Wednesday, and we'll join in with the broadcast on Thursday when we see the bulk of the running and the timed running for the 24 hours, Hankook 24 hours of Dubai, and that team being our Statmeister Paul Truswell, along with Blackpool's finest Harry Palmer, Johnny Harry Palmer, especially if he's got his glasses on, and Bruce Jones, of course, he of the amazing mental recall when it comes to
facts.
Well, and an entry list with 90 odd cars on and 4 to 5 drivers a car. He'll sit and quiz us on it, or he'll let us quiz him, and you'll say, you know, what colour is the 24 car and who's the German driver in it, and he'll say it's blue and lead and it's Herr Miggins, and you'll go, yeah, how do you know that?
Is he?
Oh, it's that good.
Yeah, as many as Miggins actually left for Germany now before the borders close.
I can't comment on that. There is the 81 car. That is the AUH Motorsport machine.
Meantime, and the lead battle, let's keep calling it that, 40.5 seconds now to go, the gap, only 22 minutes to go though, rate of closure coming down again, but it's, I think, going to be beyond him on pace, John.
Konstantin Gukayev, the Russian driver who is paired with Tarek El Gamal, who is the UAE driver in that AUH Motorsport car. Local team, of course, and how things have changed in the 6 years that we've been coming here, Graham. Barely saw a team from the UAE or drivers from round here, and one of the things that I have noticed in the last 6 years, both here and across at the 12 hours of Abu Dhabi, is the increase in local participation.
Well done to some of the stalwarts that are here. Colin Al-Ghabazi is here again, of course. And we've also got Abdel Aziz Al Faisal on the grid. Those two men amongst a small band of pioneers on the international stage, and I think that has really encouraged others to step up to the plate. And, you know, lots and lots of local talents emerging now, and more of them starting to appear on the odd entry list for the odd race all the way around the world, and that's great to see. We're going to see, I think, a lot more, by the way, in similar vein, coming out of the Southeast Asian market as things start to improve there for world-class endurance racing.
The gap between Ewan Mackay and second place Peter Cox is just over a minute.
Both going out.
But that's going the wrong...
trouble for the 82.
Oh,
that's the leader in CN.
It is the leader in CN. I was going to say, I thought that was the leader. It is the leader. So leading in CN seems to be an absolute poison chalice. Just 20 minutes to go, and the Krafft Racing Norma has done a Toyota. Oh, my goodness me. Drama at the very start of the 2017 season. And what a shame, because that car, to that point, had been running pretty well. It looks like there's a right rear, either failure or puncture, and the driver...
I wouldn't want to be standing that side of that car.
...is Max Bortolami.
He's taking
the engine cover off.
He is.
Is he just loosening it off, or is he taking it right off? Now, this could be terrible news for Peter Cox. He was at 46.5 seconds. He's now, with 19 minutes to go, at 37.5 seconds. He does not want a code 60.
Code 60 would be...
Because he can't close under a code 60.
It would be end of story. And Ewan Mackay, by the way, comes down the pit lane for that final splash and dash. And it is, off comes the engine cover for the Norma.
Well, that's a bit early for Ewan.
It's code 60.
Well, that's smart by Ewan, because he's come in 10 minutes earlier than he needed to, and
will
that means
not a lot of time.
He will lose less time in this stop than he would have.
Probably will save him a podium position.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now, that is turn 7. Just coming out of turn 7. He's on driver's right. Christian Frankenhout went off into the barriers there, didn't he, in the Mercedes-Benz a year or so ago. Hooked up onto the dirty side of the track and speared off just beyond where the 82 is parked now. Now, how quick can we get this car moved? The problem is not fastening everything else down, but it's getting your belts back on.
Is he going to restart the car?
Well, I think he is. I think what we can't see, Graham, from our vantage point is damage on the right-hand side of that car, and the bodywork having to have been moved to clear the right rear wheel. Now, he's lost the lead. He's lost second position now in CN as well, and he is going to lose third position. He's going to lose a podium position, that 82 car, because the machine that we were looking at not a moment before we saw this problem, the AUH Motorsports machine with Konstantin Gukayev, is going to go through very shortly. We need to keep an eye for the little white car going through and taking that third position. Now, manfully, Bortolami is back in the car.
Now, is he back in the car to await recovery, or is he back in the car to restart the car?
That's a fair point, well made. There is no recovery vehicle in sight at the moment. The advantage of our vantage point is that we can see about 70% of the circuit. Safety team is on the way, I'm told, from the TV team who are
Here it comes
monitoring.
now, into turn 6 on the infield.
Is this the Ford again?
Now we're going to get the comedic side of as it arrives that the Norma pulls away. No, we're not.
Almost certainly no. No, that is one of the Fords. And reporting back.
Suspiciously faster, by the way, than the other recovery vehicles.
Well, if you notice, there's absolutely no bags in the back of that pickup truck.
Really?
At all. None. None whatsoever. Although in the practice, it was full of them. And a low loader as well, yeah, coming through a rollback, which I was leaning on it quite heavily coming round the inside of turn 6.
They were hearing your scornful tone and thinking we better get a move on, otherwise Houndoff's going to have a pop.
Oh no, one thing you can never criticise here is the rescue and recovery.
They're rapid.
And they do that in the 24-hour race in particular here, down through the years, they have been the gold standard of getting people back to the pits and getting them back out into the race. It's been extraordinarily well.
Well, we've had cars that have finished very well up as a result of their efforts, actually. Mm-hmm. You know, problems early on and a fight
should
back
make
drive.
the point that the regulations allow you to be brought back and to rejoin. The Creventic point of view is at this level of racing, people have paid for a 24-hour race and we'll give you as much of it as your car can take, and therefore coming back under stroke outside assistance or quotes outside assistance, that's not an issue. Time is ticking away and that is an issue for Peter Cox. 59 seconds the gap now, of course, because we're moving slower, but remember it was 37 seconds when code 60 came out. We are under tow with the 82 car, and Bortolami has lost a podium position in the CN category. That is a shame. Looked like a nailed on 1-2 for Krafft Racing. He's dropped off the lead lap as well, and in fact he's dropped off the lap for second place, third place as well now. So he's 2 laps off the lead lap and a lap away from a podium position, which looks like it's going the way of the local team, AUH Motorsport. Well, yeah, I'll get you back quick, son, don't worry. Well, that's what suggests to me that all 4 wheels are on that car.
All 4 wheels are on that car. Let's hope the brakes work.
So what was it? Code 60 will be removed in under a minute, we hear, and that will be as soon as that 60 car
is in a place of safety.
Excuse me, as soon as that 82 car is in a place of safety, and it will likely be towed through the cutout. Indeed it is. This is the back straight onto what's called the hill circuit. So just to the car's left here is turn 14. But if you go around the outside here, you can drop straight back onto the pit lane's entrance straight between 14 and 15.
Ewan Mackay, meanwhile, has made it out of the fueling stop, so just almost all of that done under code 60.
And he hasn't lost third place.
No.
He's still in third position. He's lost some time to Peter Cox and a full lap, I believe. But that splash, which was 2 minutes, 1 minute 53 actually, for the pedants among you, that has really been so good. That was very, very good tactical moves by Century Motorsport. They've been here before, Graham, in the 24 hours, the Hankook 24 hours with their Ginettas.
And done well.
And they've done well. They've won the class. So I expect to see the code 60 come off any time now. We've got the flatbed in the pit lane as well. That's the best place for that to clear.
I think as soon as the flatbed clears the
pit lane entrance,
we will go back to green.
And we will have...
And we do, immediately.
12.5 minutes then to decide who is on which step of what podium here in 2017's opener for the 24-hour prototype series. We're at Dubai, live from trackside. I'm John Hindorf, Graham Goodwin is alongside me, and it's Joe Bradley in the pit lane. We'll get a report from Joe as to why that leader dropped out any time We can, as into the pit lane has come who?
It's the 54 cars come from behind the pits. It's come from the paddock.
Oh, the 48 slow. This is Peter Cox. Peter Cox has not got back up to speed after the 50 and
the 46 car as well.
Has there been an incident? This is the 46 car as well. That is now the 4th place car.
And they're facing the wrong way, John. That's facing the wrong way.
Well, Peter Cox was at turn 1. This is the end of the lap, I think. That's heading down into 13, isn't it? Oh no, it's 7 into 8. He's looped it coming out of 7 into 8. Thank you very much, whoever that was in my ear for from the TV truck. He's driver's right coming out of turn 7, but he's pointing back towards turn 7 rather than turn 8. And I think we might go back code 60
and we
here.
have immediately gone back to code 60.
But what's the problem with Peter Cox? Right, here is that was a quick shot of the car in the pit lane, which was the Bortolami Krafft Racing car, which is now dropping down the CN charts.
Now this could save Peter Cox a podium position.
Yes.
No, it's still got 10 minutes to go. There's not enough time.
Well, where is he? He hasn't completed the lap yet, has he? So where is Peter Cox? He's in the...
he's in sector 3. Sector 3.
He's in sector 3 at the moment. He's not in the pit lane. There is the Peter Cox car, the 48. And everything looks all right on the right-hand side. Well, he wasn't up to speed, definitely. And he wasn't in the area of the incident. Joe Bradley is down with what was the leading car, the 82 Krafft Racing car in the CN category. What can you tell us about that, Joe?
Well, at first I'm trying to establish who can speak English, because I'm sorry, the driver is Bortolami. He speaks petit anglais and I speak petit français. But I found, what's your name, sir?
David Christini.
David, thankfully, speaks some English. So, David, you were explaining what has gone wrong with the number 82 car.
Yeah, I think we have a problem with the gearbox. So we stopped to reset the gearbox, but we have always the problem. And the exhaust go out, and then we have a little bit fire that started.
Very unfortunate, because you guys were doing very well.
Minutes before the end. Yeah, that's life. two other races. So
how do you say that in French?
C'est la vie.
C'est la vie. Merci.
Tom P.
Spot on.
Now they know how Toyota felt, don't they? Yeah, that's what he was doing. He knew what the issue was. He had to reset the gearbox. Then there was a bit of a fire because of the unburnt fuel. This is down at turn 7. The 46 has spun between turn 7 and 8 and is facing in the wrong direction. And that's Nick Adcock. And he is already under tow by the very busy number 1 Ford pickup truck.
Deja vu, Ford Ranger pickup and black-coloured prototype.
Exactly the same place on the circuit, isn't it?
Just facing the wrong way. In a moment, you're going to see. There you go. You can just see there on the stream the visual sign of the tyre tracks curving an arc.
So that was the Frankenhood curve then, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Except Christian Frankenhood, I seem to remember, hit the barriers very hard indeed in the Mercedes-Benz. So there is Peter Cox. Now, could he not get the... I wonder if he can't get the speed limiter off.
Is he pitting?
I think he is.
He is.
No, he's staying out. He's staying out. So I wonder, I presume there's a button. 60 kilometres an hour, you would think there'd be a button to just cruise around on, wouldn't you? So you don't have to worry about it. I wonder if he couldn't get that disengaged, because he just didn't get up to speed at all.
It might be in a different place on the Acura.
This is the 48 car we're talking about, the Cox Racing Ligier. Joe Bradley, I'm sure, will go and try and have a word with those guys and find out why the very, very handsome dark grey and maroon car did not get back up to speed when we came off the back of the last Code 60, which was 12.5 minutes to go. Now we've got 7.5 minutes to go, and once again the driver of the safety team pickup truck is whizzing around the high side of turn 9. The leader for Graff, Frank Mattelli, the Frenchman, having taken over from Edward Lewis Browner. Eric Trillier started the race. And any second now, we will be going back racing with a little under 7 minutes to go now.
The interesting thing here is Peter Cox still in trouble? Because if he is still in trouble, he's going to be trying to finish this race as quickly as he possibly can, because otherwise there's two Ginettas not that much further back.
It's not going to cost him his class position, but it will cost him an overall position.
Correct. Into pit road now comes the stricken 46.
And we will go green in about 5, 4, 3,
already gone.
2, 1, and we are green. Joe Bradley, quick update.
Yeah, nothing to report from the Cox Racing guys. They were totally unaware when I described Peter going slowly when we went green, and he was like, oh, and we immediately went to code 60, so it's a very difficult one for them to fathom, but as far as they're aware, no messages coming from the car.
Right, well, 37.5 seconds was the gap before we went code 60 the first time between first and second. Let's see what it is when Peter Cox comes round this time, as the 17 IDEC Sport Ligier CN car is now second. The CN category is blown apart now. It is the Krafft Racing, the second of the Krafft Racing cars, that leads it with the 85 cars problems. That leaves
82 cars with the problems.
Cars with
it's
the
85
problems.
leads
It's
the race
85
now.
cars that's racing, and it's Jean-Charles Perrin, the Frenchman, the Canadian, excuse me, who pairs with the two Frenchmen, who is leading that class by some 52 seconds from in second place.
The IDEC Sport Ligier.
Yeah, and that has got David Abramczyk at the wheel of that car, or is it Verniak?
Wozniak, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Wozniak at the wheel of that. Yeah, excuse me.
With the AUH Radical now on the podium.
Yeah, and a lap further back.
Mike Simpson closing rapidly on that car for position overall. It's not a class position, of course.
Right, Peter Cox last time, and well, he's back up to speed, but he's lost, Graham.
He's lost 40 seconds.
40 seconds.
So he was lucky that that came out at the point it did, because Peter was in trouble there.
Whichever button he was pushing, I wonder if it is what we think. As was that?
That's 46 going back out.
Right, so that's the Nick Adcock Avelon Wolf going back out again. Fourth position for that car. We're under 5 minutes to go, and all of a sudden Krafft Racing look like they may be in with a chance of winning this.
Well,
a minute and 76 seconds from what was 37.5 seconds.
Well, I think it was probably a little less than that, because we went to he just finished a lap and Mattelli hadn't. I think it was probably closer to 35.
Nick Adcock then rejoins at turn 1 in the 46 Wolf, and he's in 4th position in class at the moment.
This has been one of those races that it did seem that nobody other than Krafft Racing's P3 car wanted to win. So many. I mean, we had the excellent fight between Bradley Ellis and Charlie Robertson, both those cars hitting trouble almost at the same time.
On the same piece of track, one lap after each other.
Absolutely. Then the issue for Mike Simpson. Myriad cars.
Well, don't forget before that, Lawrence Tomlinson came in with a loose front wheel, with the front wheel catching the brake duct. Yeah.
So myriad stops for, you know, either for penalties or for minor issues. They've seen the cars delayed by half a minute, 3/4 of a minute. Now, that didn't take away from the excitement on track for very much of this race, but it possibly robbed us of a grandstand finish here.
So it is now, who did we put in the 51 to take it to the end? I think it was Ewan, wasn't it? Yes, it was Ewan Mackay. Daniel got out of the car. Rob Chalmers, among many who've tweeted at Specutainment, at Radio Le Mans and at DSC Editor, to say, I'm really getting weirded out by watching prototype motor racing on a Tuesday lunchtime. I think we should have more of it, frankly.
I think it should be every Tuesday. Tuesday is little prototype day.
Yeah, like it. Midweek motor racing, it doesn't clash with anything, does it?
No, other than the midweek, which, let's face it, is no loss.
And, you know, nowadays, when it's very difficult for some people to get to the track on a weekend, and certainly for endurance racing, what's the problem about having some endurance racing on that happens to be in the middle of the day of a weekday?
Well, I think I'd put this forward. I'm trying to remember which Gus body it was that says we should stop taking cakes and biscuits into the office because it's unhealthy. It's healthy stuff. It's healthy. Like cakes and biscuits with motorsport in the middle of the week. That's what you want to do. Come on, Creventic, there's a business model in there somewhere. Coming soon to an office near you.
During the daytime, though, not of an evening.
Absolutely, no.
Because then if you are going to do corporate hospitality, people get some time off work instead of having to go
to the pub
and watch it on a lunchtime.
Absolutely.
I love it. It's a great idea. Mattelli has got just 1 minute and 20 seconds to go. Frank Mattelli then. I'm sure it's Frank Mattelli, isn't it? Who is piloting the very patriotic tricolour-coloured Krafft Racing Ligier towards what would be a famous victory here. The P3 car's outgunned on overall pace, but the Ginettas just not able, without an absolutely clean race, to stay on terms, thanks in part to the longer pit stops mandated by the organisers. But you've got to say, whatever else has happened anywhere else, this 12 car has been picture perfect.
Well, and that's the point. This is, I'm afraid, modern endurance racing, and if you can get to the end of a race, whatever length of race it is, at whatever speed you can do it reliably, you're going to take an advantage. That's what they've done.
The other thing I would say, Graham, is the time ticks down, and this might be the last lap, actually.
I think it is exactly that.
That a 57.5 is not the fastest P3 lap, but the amount of times that they were doing 57.8s and 9s, they've been peppering their fastest lap time, tremendously consistent from all of the drivers. The time is out, the checkered flag is in hand, and Krafft Racing with Frank Mattelli, Edward Lewis Browner and Eric Truier have won the first of the 3x3 hour race meetings here at the Dubai Autodrome, and that was as close to perfect a race as you will see. 2 pit stops required at a mandated time, 2 completed at 3 and 8 seconds, I think, over the mandated time for this car, and that, I think you might say, is job done. Joe Bradley.
Yeah, job well done for Krafft Racing. The guys are just celebrating on the pit wall. Remember, endurance racing's won on the pit wall, and the drivers are just one tiny little cog in that whole machine. And these guys making history. The first prototype race for the 24-hour series. This is I've been told to call it a promotional race, a full.
Yes, indeed. Joe, just going to break off there because there's a heck of a battle going on for first and second in CN between the 85 and the 17. The Krafft Racing and the IDEC Sport Ligier. They were just 0.3 of a second as they went across the line last time around, and we'll try and pick them up on the far side of the circuit if we can.
Coming into the final sector, the pair of them, 0.367 of a second was the gap at the end of the previous lap. They're both on their final lap now,
and they must be heading down the hill. Here they come through turn 14 and 15. I think it's just going to go the way of Krafft Racing, is it?
No, it's going the other way around.
They've changed.
It's changed on the final lap.
They've changed on the final lap. So IDEC Racing, IDEC Sport has gone through with the so that's another Ligier.
It's 2 Ligiers. The Ligiers take it at the end.
Amazing
stuff. Absolutely amazing.
And Perrin comes through and lost 5 seconds on that last lap.
In fact, lost 5 seconds on the previous lap, so did something go wrong there? Mike Simpson, meanwhile, puts in the fastest time of his race on the final lap.
Joe Bradley.
I have the teammates of the car out. Frank Mattelli is at the wheel of the car. I have with me Eric Truier and Edward Lewis Browner. Edward, Eric's English is as good as my French, so Edward, you speak for the both of you. Congratulations, the first win for the prototype series for Krafft Racing and the Ligier.
Thank you very much. It was a great race, it was a great event and a great team and very good partners in the car. I was his lowest, so I really have to congratulate all my teammates and drivers.
That was very modest of you. Now, that has got to be said, it was as close to a perfect race that you could perhaps wish for. You guys seem to have no trouble whatsoever. Are we correct?
Yeah, that's true. The car was running perfect, and we were at the end. We were very lucky because we had code 60s twice or 3 times, so that really helped on to our advantage being in the lead. And I think there was an incident with Peter Cox in one of the last 2 or 3 rounds. So even though Frank was very fast, Peter was much faster, but still it was good enough to win. So.
Yep, it's got to be about the finish. Congratulations, guys. I'll see you on the podium where we'll be spraying champagne, no doubt. Although it's not champagne in this country, it's rose water.
Rose water or something.
We shall spray something fizzy. Congratulations once again. Krafft Racing, Eric Trouillet, Edward Lewis Bronner. Congratulations, guys.
Joe Bradley down there in the pits. Well, excitement all the way to the end. And once again, we had a situation where a major position changed on the final lap. There's the confirmation then for the first of 3 3-hour races. 1 minute and 3 seconds at the end. Peter Cox did pull it back, but clearly some issue there. We'll find that out from Peter in that Cox Racing Ligier. Century Motorsport with the best of the Ginettas in leading their class and taking a 3rd overall. 4th position for CWS. Colin, I think, will be very happy with that. And then the real drama on the last lap. The IDEC Sport Racing Ligier, the CN winner, and 10 seconds disappeared in the last couple of laps. Brilliant drive to win that right at the end. Clearly the opportunity taken there by Roman Wozniak at the very end of the race. Krafft Racing, they will be disappointed, running a very, very strong 1-2 with 20 minutes of the race to go, and they finish up with just a 2nd place in CN, 6th position overall. In 7th, the Krafft Racing Ginetta number 57, 3rd in the class of CN, and this will make headlines around here. The AUH Motorsport, a UAE-based team, the Radical, good enough for 3rd position in class. Top 10 made up by Simpson Motorsports, G57, and there are the rest of the results. Everyone else many laps down. Big disappointment for us was not seeing Optimum versus HHC Racing for the remainder of the race, Graham, because they were really duking it out at the head of the field.
Well, I mean, we have from the conversation that both Joe and Nick had with the guys down in pit lane, there's clearly things still to learn about these cars. They are prototypes, and that's exactly what they are. So things will improve, and actually dealing with different conditions, dealing with different track conditions is going to be important for the guys with the Ginetta G57s.
2 more 3-hour races to go, and we'll have them for you live in sound and vision on behalf of the whole team behind the cameras. Our production team as well on the other side of the track, as well as Graham Goodwin, Joe Bradley, Nick Daman, me, John Hindhaugh, of course, overlooking us all as some omnipotent creature, the responsible adult, and Ulf, our technical assistant over here. It's a big team effort. Thank you to everyone in the prototype category as well who have welcomed us in to their team areas to allow us to do the job. I enjoyed that. Hope you did too. Hope you enjoyed it enough to join us again tomorrow when we'll do it all again. Full details on the 24hseries.com website. Bye for now.